Today I look back at the major events of 2020 with two of my childhood friends, Nick Liebl and Chase Prosser. From COVID, the Australian bushfires, impeachment of President Trump, Kobe Bryant's death, the BLM protests, Harvey Weinstein's verdict, the stock market crash, Jeffrey Epstein, murder hornets, and the Beirut explosion. I imagine we will all look back at 2020 like a crazy movie. You never know what's going to happen, so might as well enjoy the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you're still alive. Let's all try and make the world a better place. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, you guys, thank you for being here. I'm sitting here with two of my youngest childhood friends, Nick Liebl and Chase Prosser.
What up? Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Zach.
Guys?
Yeah.
2020 was quite the year, huh?
Yeah, it's fun.
Personally, it wasn't, like in hindsight, I don't think it was that bad for me. I know everyone has their different stories and whatnot, and you could always compare it to worse times in history, but nonetheless, like us being smack dab in our 20s, trying to like grow our careers and just figure shit out, it was a trip. I mean, we all have our different stories with it, but
yeah,
what do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, I think it wasn't, for me, it wasn't anything terrible. Like nothing terrible happened to me, but it obviously sucked. Like a lot, like I changed. I was going to move somewhere and then I didn't. And, you know, currently I'm not employed, things like that. But I think, just, yeah, if you back up from it and look at how bad it's been for others, it's really not that bad for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it hasn't really hit close for home for me at all. I mean, everyone in my family's healthy and doing all right.
And it boosted business.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we actually had one of our biggest years. It was pretty crazy. We'll get into it a little bit, but
Tell people about your company a little bit.
So I work for my family. My dad owns a nationwide installation company. So normally we install like toilet paper, paper towel dispensers in hospitals and fast food restaurants. But right at the beginning of the pandemic, we kind of could see that this was kind of going sideways. So we like verted a little bit and we actually started doing like sanitization. So we'd go into like businesses and like spray disinfectant all over like nursing homes and hospitals. And we ended up getting like a really big contract with the LA County sheriffs. So we were in their jails 4 nights a week.
Wow.
Spraying, and it was pretty crazy.
That's
and, you know,
intense.
Anybody that knows county work, it pays pretty well. So, and for a very limited amount of work. So,
Well, do you guys do a lot of, like the hand sanitizer stations and stuff? Do you install those?
I mean, we do. But what's really crazy, and this is kind of like the part that, you know, people don't really talk about, but as like the American economy, like we rely so much on China that all of that stuff like wasn't available. All the manufacturers that make hand sanitizer dispensers and like product, all is made in China.
A lot of shelves were empty. I remember going to Target and trying to get like those standard cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's crazy.
They were knocked out everywhere, but I remember talking to an employee and he's like, oh, like, yeah, all that stuff comes from China. That's why we don't have it.
Yeah, it comes from China, and like people start making it here and they don't realize like it's actually like a pretty intense process to make it like correctly and make it healthy for everybody. Like that's why you were hearing about in the middle of the pandemic, like, you know, there's radiator fluid or whatever in these hand sanitizers, and they were getting recalled left and right. So we actually didn't install much because it was just not available. All the existing customers that these companies had were getting priority on the new product coming in. So, yeah. But the disinfecting thing took off. We're still doing it. It's a good little side hustle business for sure. Like, you know,
absolutely.
I recently went on your guys' website and I saw like there are all these pictures, like your dad, he's in like a nursing outfit or something.
So
There's
funny.
one of you. Yeah, it's so
stupid,
funny.
Mr. Prosser in his outfit.
It looks great.
It
I
was
love it.
terrible. I like to say the least, because like we go into these places and we straight up look like the Ghostbusters. Like we got like backpacks on with these green guns, like full hazmat suits, like respirators. It was honestly probably like one of the most embarrassing things ever. Like every single day.
Paid.
Yeah, you're getting paid. And like,
you gotta spray a super soaker and get paid for it. It's kind of sick.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy work. You walk around and spray shit. It's pretty easy, but I mean, I liked it. It was cool. And I was just thankful to be working and, you know, like
True.
My family was being taken care of. So that was the number one thing for me through it. But
and
cool.
COVID, of course, stands out like as one of the most important, or the most important event that happened in 2020, rightfully so. I'd say behind that was probably Joe Biden elect beating Trump,
Dude,
and
what
that
about
comes
Black
with a
Lives
bunch
Matter,
of different
though?
stuff, and that too.
I think that might
So,
have been bigger. Almost, maybe.
I mean,
Maybe not.
There's different repercussions for all of it. It's just the COVID was something that could be deemed out of like human control because it was just a natural disaster. Also with like the Australian fires and whatnot.
Yeah,
And then the fires in California too,
that's right.
which everything is just taken.
Damn.
There's so many things, and I think every year there's always events that kind of get tucked away and you're not really exposed to them unless you really like deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with COVID too, people had so much like free time. You're sitting at home like consuming content and able to do research or just be on like different Facebook groups shooting the shit, getting mad at one another and all this different shit. But we've got the New York Post article pulled up for 2020 events. Yep, these things all happened in the year from hell. Yeah, the year from hell. I mean, these headlines that they're meant to do their job and get your attention. I'm just an optimistic person, so it wasn't that hellish of a year for me. It was definitely a trip, but it's showing first the Australian brush fires, which were pretty crazy because I remember that in the beginning of the year, like just seeing satellite footage and, of course, people associating global warming with it, which I think has some merit in terms of the after spread of the fire. Like it could be worse, but I think a lot of arsonists are the ones that started it.
Yeah.
Or maybe just fires that get out of control. Grant, could you look up on a different tab what started the Australian fires? Because I want to just go down this list and kind of
just talk about some stuff.
tackle all the different stuff because, like I said, COVID is on the forefront. The presidency was on the forefront, but then there's other things that kind of fell beneath the cracks too.
So I watched this YouTube video like in May that this girl made, and it was pretty funny. It was like me talking to myself 4 months ago. That was the name of the title, something like that. And so the premise was her talking to herself from January, her like May self talking to her January self. And so she sits down and the January self is like, yeah, so like, oh man, I'm so excited for this year. Like I have a bunch of travel planned and like, man, I really think like the defining factor for the year is going to be these Australian wildfires. And then the May self is like, wait, what? Oh, that happened? That's right. And then she's like, yeah, sit down because like shit's about to happen. And then she basically goes through the COVID thing. But just kind of funny thinking about how, you have this huge event. The Australian wildfires seemed like it was going to be this like the defining factor of the year. And then everything else that followed suit after that, I legit kind of forgot that it even happened.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the Australian fires. Like,
really?
When you just brought that up, when you sent us that article earlier, I was like, oh shit, that did happen in 2020, huh?
Yeah. But it was like the very beginning, though. It was like January, right?
Yeah.
Some lightning, some by human actions, including arson. So, because I've always associated wildfires with like lightning strikes when they happen naturally.
Mm-hmm.
That's technically the only... If humans were taken out of the equation and our technology and people tossing a cigarette, for example, I think the most part, it's either like a volcanic eruption could spread like wildfires, but mostly it's lightning.
Probably lightning,
And that's not to say, I think it's important to point out, like, wildfires happen whether humans are here or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just what causes them initially, if it's like a human impact.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only that, but what have we done which maybe extends the severity.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, I was just talking to my dad about this morning, like other governments like Canada, I think a lot of like Amsterdam, Germany, they allocate a lot of funds and resources to just cleaning up like the forest.
Yeah.
I never knew that was a thing. Like they actually have agencies and have a big budget where you go in and just clean up dead debris, like fuel and whatnot. We don't really do that here. At
also
least
doing
not as well.
controlled burns. That's like a huge thing. That's been a thing for a long time. They're like the Aboriginal people in Australia. They've done that for ever, as far back as people can trace, that they've lit their own fires to control it, because you need to control like areas that are dead. You have to burn them off so that they don't cause a bigger fire later that happens by a lightning strike or something. You do these little burns, and that's exactly what like Forest Service and stuff, they'll do these little burns in areas where it's like, oh, there's a bunch of dead shit here, so we got to burn it so that when a fire comes through, it has no fuel to burn. And
then isn't your was your uncle, what's his position?
He was like second in command for all of CAL FIRE, but now he recently, within the last year, he stepped down from that position, and now he's like a battalion chief, I think, in San Diego at a unit in
That's
San
cool.
Diego.
Dude, I would love to have him on. He could probably talk deeply about like
That'd be
forest
sweet.
fires and all
We
that
could talk
kind of
about
stuff.
a lot of stuff. Yeah.
But I think you brought up the Aussies like burning stuff too, or the controlled
Yeah.
fires. I think it's good for the soil too. It
Yeah.
replenishes
Yeah, exactly.
the soil.
Mhm.
But I think just in California too, because we were talking about the Aussie fires, but then California had really bad fires too, which extended up to Oregon and into Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read like once some of these fires were getting close to Canada, they weren't as bad because of their forest management.
It's
the
different.
management is so much better. It's just cleaning up dead debris.
Yeah,
Right.
they also
Which you
don't
would-
have as much debris though because it rains so much, so the stuff stays
Different
alive.
climate,
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, in California in particular, like, Cal Fire actually does do a lot of like cut and
They
burns.
do. Oh yeah, for
They
sure.
do, and they actually use inmates to do it. They like that's like their
Oh,
staff.
wow.
So there's
Yeah.
like there's like firemen that are like also I guess trained in like being police officers too, and they like watch the guys on the hillside, and they are the ones cutting with like chainsaws and whatever.
Prison
California
labor.
just did you
That's the
California
thing.
just for 2021 they just passed a law that like it has something to do with those inmates. They can get jobs when they get out
Yeah.
of jail or prison. They can
Yeah.
they can get out and get jobs in the fire department. They have like lower, I don't know, something about their entry. The fire department's not as hard on them for what they did in the
Oh,
past.
no shit.
If they if they
That's
volunteered
awesome.
and stuff while they
Yeah.
were inmates and they did all the fire stuff, that they have like an easier time getting a job when they get out,
That's
which
awesome.
is cool. Get
No,
them
it's really
like
good.
That's
give
a
them something to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a program I could
Well,
stand behind.
Yeah.
And I think someone that's been in jail can cut, hillsides. I don't think that like there's anything for them to fuck up on that. So you might have cut a little
Hey,
too high,
good at
but
cutting
You're not
those
wrong.
sides.
It's like those programs to like help get people that hopefully have been healed in some way.
Yeah.
And then there's arguments made. A lot of people think it's worse. Like you're not really
How's
getting
it worse?
you're not getting treatment in prison is what I'm saying. Like a lot of people think you go away and it doesn't really help these inmates' mental problems or get them on a course to where they could become like active, good citizens in society.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that program, on the contrary, seems like a pretty like
Well, it gives them
straightforward
purpose. It gives the
Yeah.
people purpose when they get out. A lot of the
Clean up.
time when people get out of jail, they go back to the same beaten path they were on before because they don't have any.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, you're gonna go like
You have a felony, so you can't get a job anywhere. So what else are you gonna do? Yeah, it's a
you
it's
go
an
where you
endless
know where you
cycle.
can make money, which
sell
is
dope.
Exactly.
Sell dope.
Yeah.
it's pretty
Dude,
sad.
I remember the Aussie fires, like the videos of like animals
Yeah.
running and people
Yeah.
like picking up koalas on the
Koalas,
side
yeah.
of the road.
I think
Dude,
we
like
all saw those pictures.
that's gnarly too, because now with our like technology and social media and our phones always at our fingertips, we're exposed to not just problems within our own communities and then our state and then our nation at large. It's like, what's happening on the other end of the world, and not just what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have a video to where it's pulling your emotions. Like, holy shit, no one wants
Mhm.
to see a burning koala or
Yeah, no.
a toasted fucking kangaroo on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with that exposure and then the problems that are happening in your household and then in your local government. And then you see Trump tweets this, and then
Mm-hmm.
you see people feuding on social. We're exposed to so many problems now. It's not
Right.
that.
So
What do you
much
guys think? Doesn't that
negativity.
clutter your head a little bit? I tried to compartmentalize and like deal with things one by one, like fix my baseline first, make sure
Mhm.
I'm healthy,
Mhm.
my household's good, that like you're about your family and your money and taking care of your own foundation. How many people have like the ability to start dabbling in like political research?
Mhm.
Oh, how do I help solve this problem in Australia? How do I help solve
Mhm.
the problem in California? There's so many things now that we're supposed to be worrying about,
Yeah, well, so the wildfire, the Australian fire is a funny thing because like I actually don't know much of anything about it. I saw like a picture of a koala and I was like, dang, that's bad. That sucks. But before COVID, this answers your question essentially. Before COVID, I never really paid attention to much on the news or worldwide things because it doesn't affect me for the most part. And like, you can't hold the weight of the world on your shoulders. I mean, you should obviously be an informed citizen and an informed person of the world and know your place and try to make the best decisions you can. But watching the news every day, it's like, yeah, they're going to find something wrong everywhere. But like if in Van Nuys, some guy stabbed someone, like, I mean, I have no involvement here. So why do I need to hold that weight on my shoulders the rest of the day now?
That's true.
So I just kind of have typically stayed away from stuff, but COVID kind of and everything politically and all that brought me in a little more this year.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
oh,
Chase.
sorry. Yeah, well, I mean, Rogan talks about that a lot. It's like, you know, you only have so much bandwidth, you know, and if your day's consumed and half your bandwidth is going to what's going on with everybody else, like your day's gonna be pretty shitty.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's definitely how I feel through all this last year. It was like,
do you watch the news much or read the news much?
I tend myself like I want to and like I like to,
Yeah.
but then I catch myself and I'm like, dude, I am now in a shitty mood.
Exactly.
Because Trump tweeted this bullshit and, you know, this fucking politician is getting her fucking haircut and, you know, like, it's like, God damn it. Like, now I'm in a bad mood because,
You're right.
you know,
I
these
tried
people are throwing shit at each other. And it's like,
Yeah.
so honestly, like, I just take a step back most of the time and I'm like, all right, I'll just not be informed. I don't want to know what's going on.
I think there's some merit to that. Like, I don't know. There's so many people who are going to argue like, oh, you need to be informed about everything. Blah, blah,
Like,
blah.
how dare you not take a stand?
Yeah.
Well, if
Come
more people just took a step back and weren't as informed,
or just
like the media would have no one to fucking pump their bullshit to. So
it's
I mean,
like look at like when COVID first happened, for instance, reading the news and watching the news, like if I didn't go outside and like actually just look down the street, I would have thought like, dude, everyone's just dead in body bags in the street. Like the world is dying. Everything's so bad. And then it's like, oh, I went for a bike ride and like everything looks pretty normal to me. I mean, obviously because I personally hadn't been affected by it, but you can't live in this world that's created by like where bad things are happening, because bad things are always happening. Good things are happening too. Normal things are pretty much always are like the majority of what's happening. Like, who cares that Jonathan just ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? You don't see that. But what you see is like, Karen stabbed Susie because she didn't want to wear a mask.
Yeah, the negative lean on news, I think, is something that just plays on our human nature too, to where like
100%.
we like to concentrate on feuds and like the negative problems and problem solving in general. But you guys are right. I think it's important to step back because that's something I've worked on personally, is because like I said, I'll cover baseline, make sure my life's good. But then in my free time, I almost feel like if I'm not trying to like problem solve or have conversations, it's like, wait, am I doing my job? I wish I could just kind of like kick back and not worry about
You can't?
all the problems. I can, but I just feel obligated to almost like,
Why?
I think it's just in me, just like being a problem solver. I can't always just relax. Like I have to, I know how to relax. I've gotten better at it, but it's just like, okay, I have a couple hours of free time. What can I do to like try to help this problem or try to solve that problem? I don't know. It's just kind of in me.
Yeah. Have you ever like just not done something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big napper. Those of you
Okay.
who know me like close, I'll take like a siesta. So like if my brain's going super fast all morning, I'll get to the point where it's like, whoa, I could feel my engine slowing down a little bit. I'm lucky to where I can close my eyes for 20 minutes, literally knock out, like set an alarm, wake up, and then I feel like I'm at 100% again.
So, but what about like, so for instance, what about, how do you get your news?
Okay, yeah, so to go back to the news, I very rarely flip on like Fox or CNN. The other morning after people started climbing the Capitol building and stuff, I wanted to like flip it on and just get their lean on it, and I turned it off within 3 minutes. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, this is garbage. And I also was thinking too, because Grant came the other day to drop off the hard drive, and he's like, dude, you see what's going on? Like, you see what's going on at the Capitol? And I'm like, no. Like, what happened? I'm like, I've been fucking slammed all morning. Like, I don't even have time to look at what's happening over there. I'm like, what are all these fucks doing? Like, I know people are out of work right now and unemployment is high, and it's super sad. Like you said, it hasn't like really affected me that much. What are you doing? You have time to go climb the Capitol wall? Go fucking fix your problems in a more productive way. Like, there's ways to do it. I saw a video of wait, Grant, you got to try to find this maybe on YouTube. It's someone climbing like those little pillars. And it's playing the Super Mario music. And then they ended up falling, and it did like the dun 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 dun. Dun. You know, and you like,
we'll have to get to the Capitol like later. Let's go in a
just
little
sequential.
bit more order.
But so the news, you were asking me how I get my news.
Yeah. Do you
I'll go
have
on
like a news
Google.
source or?
No, I'll see something on social media which will normally spark my interest,
Okay.
and then I'll go on a Google dive and
Right.
try to like get different opinions. But I listen to obviously if you guys are a listener to this podcast, Rogan quite a bit.
Yeah.
What else? Like Ben Shapiro, I'll pay attention to him once in a while just to get like a pretty extreme conservative lean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even though he preaches, I mean, he doesn't really preach it, like the lack of like team oriented stuff. It's like assess things on an individual level, try not to be left or right, but just like use your rational brain to assess things honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I hear like him say that, and then I'm like, wait, but you sound super like conservative leaning right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a little contradictory.
He
but
is.
But so it sounds like your
Google,
social
mostly.
media is what
Social
triggers you
sparks
being
it.
informed about something, and then you Google it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That's what do you do, Chase?
I try to read both sides. So I'll usually I'll jump on Fox, read what they're having to
But
say.
do you just like wake up in the morning and
No,
go on
no,
Fox,
no,
or
no,
how
no,
do
no.
you? What gets you to look at the news?
Usually social media.
Yeah.
Usually I'll see like an event going down. Someone will post some stupid ass meme or something. Like that's how I found out about the Capitol. It was
Mhm.
like someone posted some picture of like the fucking man bear pig guy like standing in the Capitol. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Grant, I'm gonna send it
Man,
to you right
bear,
now.
pig. What's man, bear, pig?
That guy right there at the top.
Oh, gotcha.
That's from South Park. So South Park had an
Mm.
episode where Al Gore was obsessed with this, and that's what he fucking found in a cave. And that's why the guy was dressed like that.
Gotcha.
But I'll read like Fox, and I'll read like what CNN has to say and
So you
how
read both
different it
sides.
is.
Yeah.
And then usually by that point, I'm like, okay, this is all fucking bullshit, and
Yeah.
I
sent it to
tune
you,
off.
Grant, to your
So
phone.
and I don't know. I mean, I feel like with media for like our media in the U.S., it's like I don't even know what's true and what's not true, and so I like don't even decipher like because Fox will report and say like these are the facts, and CNN will do the same, but they'll be completely opposite. Like I remember I
Or
was
just
reading
how they talk about it, like their headlines.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
it's so drastically different.
I remember I was reading a Fox News article, and I actually tried to find it because I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was so hilarious, but they've pulled it down since. And when they were first reporting on it, Fox News reporting that Antifa has taken over the Capitol as Trump supporters. And I was like, wow, that's pretty, it's like almost conspiracy theorists. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like if they're going to dress up as Trump supporters and break in, and then CNN's like, Trump supporters. And then later Fox News pulled that article and like called
Dude,
it just
We got to
How
talk
does that
conspiracy
work, though?
theories
You
at some
literally-
point.
You literally put forth a narrative that's not true, and then you're like, "Oh wait, that's not true. Let's pull it off."
Well, and
Like,
then
wait,
not even-
you
and
gotta
not
be
even-
more responsible as a like a
Yes.
journalist.
and
That's
not even come back
crazy.
and say, hey, we fucked up, and
Yeah.
there weren't Antifa, or we've new information has come available. They just pull the article and they just literally, and I guarantee you, and I didn't check this, but they probably just changed the wording in the article. Like they probably just put from Antifa to Trump supporters, or
I don't understand how politicians and these they don't recognize one of the most important and I think attractive things a human could do is admit when you're wrong.
For sure.
Like admit when you're wrong, course correct, and then be like, wait, with the data at the time, this was my opinion, but wait, we have new stuff. We're actively trying to like solve problems here.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, like hide that. Like that can't
Yeah.
get out.
Dude,
And-
that's like the most effective way to disarm someone is to completely own up to your shit.
Exactly.
I found that in my own life of just like,
Yeah.
like for instance, in my relationship with Aaron, like, so I want to sometimes like I'll get really heated and I'm like, cool, like let's go, let's argue about something, and then she'll just be like, she'll get sad about it, or she'll be like, I'm sorry. Like one time we almost had an argument, and then she was like, oh, I'm sorry, and then I was just like, I have nothing left.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it just brings
well,
it down.
You're sorry now, so I can't be mad at you about it. But I mean, same thing, like something in my life where it's like I've totally screwed up something, and I'm like, hey, this is 100% my fault. I take full responsibility for it. Like, I'm really sorry. I messed up, made a mistake. What do you want to do? And almost always people are like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's all good. Like,
Yeah.
so
Even with business, it's
I was gonna say
like I will own up to my faults, and people like that. If you make a mistake, own up to it. And then
Totally.
another point too is if someone asks you a question and you don't have the information to answer it, don't bullshit.
yeah,
Be like,
just say you
wait,
don't
hold on.
know.
Be like, I'm gonna check on this and I'll get back to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Own up to your
Exactly.
shit, and then if you don't know something, oh, I can't talk about that right now. Let me check, or let me
Totally.
check with my team, or let me do some research, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Any reasonable, rational person would understand that. And let's say you make a mistake, and of course, there's varying levels of mistakes. Like, you can't go murder someone
Mhm.
and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. There's different
Yeah, for
levels
sure.
to it. But generally speaking, if you're dealing with someone that's reasonable and respectful, admit to it.
Mhm.
And if they don't understand, then they don't need to be in your life.
Yeah,
That's fine.
For sure.
And the extreme left and the extreme right are at each other's throats right now. And it's just been like that all year. Those are people that I don't even want to deal with.
Mhm.
Yeah,
If
no.
you're so extreme to where we can't have a conversation and recognize the fact that there's nuance
Yeah.
in solving these problems, if you're that emotionally charged, then guess what? I can't do business with you.
Totally.
Like,
And that's fine.
I can't.
Yeah, you can't have that person can't have a balanced opinion or a balanced perspective on anything. If all you see is in one direction and you can't own up to any faults or have an ability to see from another perspective, like, screw that person.
Yeah.
And that was one of just the biggest problems I had with Trump, because I was more, I wouldn't say a big supporter, but neutral. Like, I had hope. I was optimistic in his ideology and policy with, like, government's corrupt.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in and kind of, what did
In-
he say?
in
Something about the swamp?
2016?
Yeah.
Drain
Well,
the swamp?
Drain the swamp.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, like, I'm down for this idea that even though he's like a reality star and
Mhm.
a normal citizen, in quotes, can kind of come in and be the leader of the
Mhm.
greatest country in the world,
Sure.
Yeah.
POTUS. And after 4 years, I mean, Nick, you guys both know this about me. I really dislike bullies. I don't like assholes. I
Yeah.
really dislike assholes.
It's because we went to Chapman Hills. You got to be a bully buster.
Yeah, bully.
You were only there 1
Bully
year for that
buster.
bullshit, but you know.
Okay, so they had this program implemented when we all went to the same elementary school, and it was called, like, be a bully buster.
Not just
Kinda like-
not just a program. We had our backstops painted.
Yeah,
as
the
bully busters,
backstops.
so-
They're like
painted with, like
superheroes.
bull.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bull was a bully.
But
yeah.
I mean, this could be a downfall, some people would say, in me, is Trump. How he triggered me in a lot of ways, and
Yeah.
not in a bad way to where I'm some fucking crazy leftist, like, oh, I'm triggered, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
But I'm like, like, I really dislike bullies and assholes,
Mhm.
and you're just reminding me of that. Not even with stuff that's spun in news media, because I'll tell you, I was waiting the first debate, going into it, listening. I was like, this is your opportunity to earn my vote,
Mhm.
because this is live. And I can actually assess you as a person that's not edited out, like it's live, you know.
Mhm.
And it made me go in the other direction. I'm like, oh, man, like, you're kind of an asshole. And a lot of people love that too. They're like, oh, he's an asshole. He says what he wants. He shoots from the hip. Blah blah
Right.
blah. I completely disagree with that. Just because I think if you're the CEO of a company, if you're the leader of your family and your household, or if you're any sort of leader, I think there's certain qualities a leader should have, and one is being charismatic and respectful, and there's a way to be that badass who stands up for what is right and still is like a strong leader, someone that you could put your faith into,
Mhm.
but then also not be an asshole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Someone that's kind of like,
That's a
that
true
could
leader.
drop
That's
bomb.
a true leader.
Yeah.
Though.
it's just
There's like a dictator and then there's a leader.
I look for someone that I can admire, someone that's respectful, you know,
Yeah.
just that person that has a good balance. And I think, unfortunately, our system and then the political nature now, it's not steering people that have those qualities of good leadership into the political spectrum.
Oh no.
Because I know I'm like, would I ever want to enter that? No, I'd rather just be in private sector, take care of my life and my family,
Mhm.
be a good person to my network. But do I want to go face the psychos in the political spectrum? And that's scary, because we need those quality leaders. And maybe can't say maybe with right now, because like Trump brought that pendulum to such an extreme side that I hope people are inspired to get in that scene. Like, you know what? No, I want to show the world, I want to show the country that you can be a balanced individual, stand
Mhm.
for human rights, for equality, problem solve, and all these different sectors where things need to be done.
Yeah.
But be someone that, like, all these other countries could look at America and be like, you know what? That's a solid guy or girl. we haven't had
but
that.
that's like boring. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in marketing, and so you know that someone who takes like a strong stand and is polarizing, with their product or just as a brand or whatever, that it's you're gonna have really, really strong followers and people that absolutely hate you. But that's a better perspective than being like, yeah, I'm cool. Like, we make good things, and they're like, they're good. But that's boring. And so that's why Trump won, though. Like, that's why everybody likes him so much, is because he was so polarizing, because he was what he was. I don't know. He wasn't just like, oh yeah, like we could think about that. He was like, oh, the wall just got 10 feet higher, you know?
So do you think, I mean, because you're right, like we're attracted to like more unique parts of human nature. No one likes the neutrality of it. It's boring. But God, politics and government to operate at a productive, healthy manner, like it needs to, like if you were running a business, you problem solve behind doors, not with emotion. That's what gets you fired. You present solutions that make sense, and you come to a decision that everyone in the organization needs to agree with. And with new data that comes out, you can go back to problem solving in step one, and you kind of like this just general process. So what you just said, I think we're getting like the entertainment industry and the
100%.
whole hype train of us is like it's crossing paths with politics, and that's what Trump kind of gave us. When like that should be separate. Like what happens in Hollywood, like we're treating life like it's a movie. Like we're all just in this big movie.
Well, I mean, that's why reality TV does so well. It's like people want to see other people. People want to see other people's problems because they don't have to deal with it. You turn on the Kardashians, and their G-Wagons aren't blue enough, or whatever the fuck is wrong with it this week.
Lips ain't big enough.
Yeah, I mean, and it's nice to watch because you're just like, damn, shit's not. They got drama too, and they have all the money in the world. But I think people in their lives want drama. I mean, human nature is to solve problems, but problems that are like, in the media, it's more fun to do those than actually solve real issues like global warming or, our political system that has a bunch of people that just make money. And I mean, that's kind of where it's at. We can talk about this more later, but one thing that really irked me that was in the media was this deal that just passed, this next stimulus check that just came out and everyone's receiving it right now.
No, let's hear it.
There was a whole Green Deal that was, packed onto that the Democrats have been trying to pass this for 2 years through Trump. And they finally, so a little backstory. So the government
Is this the $600 that just happened?
Yeah, that
the one
everyone
that
just got
the UFO thing attached to it too.
There was a bunch of shit attached to it.
It was thousands of pages of policy.
Did you read any of it? Like where the money was going?
I did. I listened to Trump's address where he was breaking down like all the budget allocation and you're
hundreds of millions and billions of dollars going to, other foreign aid. And, I think that stuff's important. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think that this is where I'm not like a hardcore Republican. I'm kind of in the middle. I think we should help other people. But why would you attach this to a stimulus check that's supposed to help small business and help the people of the United States? Why are we attaching, women's studies in wherever it was, the Ukraine or whatever, or what other country it was, when like we need to get the money out to our people to take care of our people right now. I understand that these other countries need help, and I think that like at the appropriate time that should be taken care of. But they've been trying to pass this deal for 2 years, and they couldn't do it in the first one because they didn't have the leverage. But you always hear about the like government shutdowns. So what happens is
deadlock.
Yeah. So they have terms like this is our budget for this amount of time, and when those time is up, that's how they leverage the thing because they're like, okay, fine, if you're not going to pass our deal and you're not going to agree on it, we're just going to shut down and stop working. And that doesn't affect a politician. These guys make millions of years on back deals and stuff.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, excuse me.
No, you're good.
Yeah, millions of dollars doing this. But like people like that work at the post office or the DMV, like
they're screwed.
They're screwed. They live paycheck to paycheck on their government wage. And they also have to shut down because these politicians can't agree. And like this is just stuff that like, is wrong with our economy and no one wants to fix it. And I really thought, because I voted for Trump in 2016, I voted for him again in 2020. But, I think that I was hopeful that he was going to come in and like get rid of this shit. But I also think that once, you get in office, you kind of figure out how it really works. And I think that's what we saw with Trump. It was like, well, this is how politics really work, dude. You can promise shit. Like, like the 6th grade guy that's running for president of the
Yeah.
school. I'm going to
I'm
change
gonna
the school
get
lunches.
Extra vending machines. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't have any power to do that.
Yeah, we have no funding for that, sir. Sorry.
Yeah.
To go back to the policy, which was a couple thousand pages, Grant, you could probably pull up how long it was. So I think the main issue is, like you said, it's not that all these different problems need to be solved. It builds distrust because you're kind of throwing things in there just because we're at a point where we're going to put forth this policy because people want that paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're adding all these different things in, when does that ever happen in business or in the real world? It's like, no, you assess if we're dealing with getting money to Americans, then that should be the main focus of it. Like you adding all these different, it builds distrust because people are like, wait, how does that make sense?
Look at that, Zach. Web pages.
5,500 pages.
Holy shit. Imagine being the person that has to type that.
So it's just, and Chase, like you said, I think it was like women issue stuff, and I think it was like gay rights or something in a Middle Eastern country where people are condemned and murdered.
Yeah.
There's all these issues that are coexisting, but if you are presenting to the American people that this is a stimulus package dealing with COVID,
you're selling it as
money
this
in your pockets, which people are like, wait, I only get $600, and there was a bunch of those memes that are like, here, I'm gonna pay you $600 to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like from like Trailer Park Boys or whatever.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's just so deceiving. It's deceptive.
Oh, it's so deceptive. I mean, there's things in there like the Kennedy Center got a few $100 million for new artwork. Like, as a person that, I didn't get a stimulus check. I don't fit in that tax bracket to receive one, which I'm proud to say. Like, I'm happy that I don't, because I don't need it. And someone else, well, and I'm happy that someone that does need it gets it. Like, I think that that's how it should work, and there's a lot of people in the United States that take advantage of that. But, but the art center getting new artwork, I don't think that's appropriate. You know what I mean?
For
like,
sure.
Like that struggling person maybe should get $1,000 instead of 600.
100%.
And yeah, I agree.
And it's tough to like read, and they say, oh, well, you vote for your leaders and this is what your leaders do. It's like, well, I never voted for this. I never voted for corruption, but you kind of do. I mean, so
it's just because we get two options, and it's like, oh, well, he's a little bit better than the other one, so I'm gonna vote for this. But then all the shit that they do, it's like, I didn't vote for this, but I guess you're saying you did, but you didn't.
Yeah, because you did vote for someone,
right?
So, but I mean, then there's
2024. I hope we're gonna get someone that everyone could really stand behind and like.
Yeah, but Trump's gonna run again.
Who did you like?
Who
did you like in this last election? Like,
Who did I like in the last election?
In this election, or let's go 16 for Republicans, and then who did you like from the 2020 Democrat before Biden was chosen?
Well, let's see. I've
the
never
gal from Hawaii.
Tulsi Gabbard. I like her the
I
most.
liked her the
I like
most.
Tulsi.
Yeah,
That's
I
who I
like
like.
Tulsi more than anyone.
Yeah.
I've never voted for either left or right. I've always voted third party.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah. So I've never really paid attention much to either side, to be totally honest, because I just don't like them that much. But I like Tulsi a lot. I thought she was pretty cool.
Solid.
She was pretty balanced. She was
Had
kind of like
military
a
experience.
Well, she was like, I like so for instance, I just moved back from Colorado. I've lived there for 3 years. But the governor there, Jared Polis, he's a Democrat, but he has kind of like a conservative perspective on economics.
Yeah, fiscally conservative.
Yeah, but like he's a gay man, but he is fiscally conservative. So he's a Democrat because like socially he's more left leaning, but he was conservative on right leaning stuff. And so because of that, like I think he did by far the best of any governor that I had seen that was really on either side handling the coronavirus. He was not quick. He wasn't some Newsom dork ass that was just like, shut it down, everything. There's not going to be any repercussions for that. But he also wasn't like full Ron DeSantis that was like, don't ever shut anything down ever. He was just kind of like, hold on. We got to see what the repercussions are here. Let's start with like, let's not go to concerts. Let's start with that. Okay, now maybe we should close down nightclubs and bars. And slowly he closed things down. And then slowly he reopened. And whereas here, it was like Newsom, how he shut it down and then reopened it completely and then shut it down. And we keep going back and forth. It's like, you don't need to do that if you have a little more of a balanced perspective on it and you take some time with what you do. tangent there, but what
No,
I'm getting
I
at
think
is
the
just
fact
that
is there's going to be unintended consequences to any decision you make. You weigh and measure which one's going to have the least negative impact.
Yeah.
And that's not shooting from the hip.
Mhm.
Sometimes you do have to make decisions abruptly and
Yeah.
there's no time to wait.
Mhm.
But
I mean, President Trump did do that. though.
Mussolini,
I mean,
what do they call him? Mussolini?
yeah.
Mussolini.
Oh, God.
I mean, Trump did do that. I mean, he cut all travel to China really quick. You know, right after like when the pandemic.
Wait, here,
People
Pull up
argue.
that article again, Grant. Go ahead, Chase.
People
The New
argue.
York Times one.
People
Or New York
argue
Post
that-
one?
2021.
That he didn't do it fast enough, and he knew months before. But
Go down to COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so this references the World Health Organization announced on January 9th.
But it started in November in China.
yeah,
People started getting China in
China.
my dad had it in November of 18.
He knows that conclusively.
18? You mean
'Cause
He
that's-
19?
doesn't know it conclusively.
19.
Because
No,
that's
in
what a lot of
18,
people
November.
say.
18.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh,
What?
That's when it
The
started.
year? No,
No, no,
19.
19.
20. 19. Excuse me. I'm
So
sorry.
the year before, yeah, it would have been 19.
Well-
but so many people are like, oh, I was really sick
Well,
at the
no,
end of
because he
19.
lost his sense of taste and smell.
I
That's the
lost
only
my
reason.
sense of taste and smell in 2018 from a flu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's-
okay.
I didn't like.
You can
I
lose
didn't
it
know
from
that was
flus.
like a.
Yeah.
It's just a
common
very
thing.
common
Okay.
symptom.
It's a
with
thing
this
that can
one.
happen.
I
Usually
also
everyone says that.
I also haven't gotten it, and I literally spend 40 hours a week in nursing homes in COVID units.
Neither
Dude,
have
I know so
which
many
it's
people
just crazy.
who have gotten it and no one else in their immediate family didn't got it. Like, so I was just talking to this guy that he got it and he was staying in a cabin with his family, a small cabin with his family for a week, sleeping next to his wife every night. And she
So
no one
fucking
got it.
weird. It's
My
so
my
weird.
sister just had it. My sister just had it. No one else in my well, we kind of think we all might have had it actually, but
Gotta get
what-
the antibody.
well, because we
Even
were
though
like
it's not.
Yeah,
we
so
had
they
like
got
we
it.
had like sniffles for a day. My sister was never sick.
My brother had it, and I was in a van with him all week working, and like no mask, anything, and he got it confirmed, and I didn't.
Are
but-
you scared at all? Because you have
Diabetes. No, I mean
Because isn't that? Like,
Are you afraid of the regular flu?
no.
So
Yeah,
I feel,
that's
I feel like,
exactly how.
Uh,
I
but
felt.
that's a
but,
good
but
question.
so I mean, because it's the same thing. It's like, okay, so there are people that like, so if you have like, so know a person who has like multiple sclerosis, it's like really bad immune system. They're on because it's a what is diabetes? It's called a
Autoimmune.
autoimmune. Thank you. So
Autoimmune.
if you have an autoimmune disorder like MS or diabetes, something like that, and it's really bad, and you have to take medication that essentially turns off your immune system, right? So then if you get sick with anything, your immune system is essentially turning off. It's really weak. So if you get sick with anything, you can get extremely sick.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is that there are people who are not well and they would normally be afraid of any kind of illness.
Mhm.
And those are the people who should definitely be concerned about COVID. But if
Yeah.
you're not in that bracket, then I think that you don't need to be overly concerned. Obviously, I'm
Yeah.
not a health expert.
Yeah, no, and I think that's
I
kind of
agree
what,
with what you're saying, though.
and I think that's kind of what's crazy about all this is like there are certain situations like if you live with your grandparents,
Right,
and your grandparents
exactly.
are older and sick, or your parents are older and sick, like
Don't
you
go
as
to
a
the
person,
fucking bar.
yeah, you as a
Like-
person need to take more precautions,
Right.
And I don't think there's any good way to like close down the economy. I mean,
No.
there's no good way to do
I thought
this.
that was impossible. Like when I heard about what was
Yeah.
happening in China in like February, I laughed because I was like, I heard a few people that were concerned about it. I was like, that's never going to happen in
Yeah,
this
well,
country.
China's
There's
a-
no way the U.S. would allow that to happen. And it did.
Yeah, China has a dictator too. He can like lock their doors, and you can just bitch and moan all you want. And
Dude, did you
doesn't
see
matter.
that they would like drill
Yes.
like doors shut?
Oh, they lock
Yeah.
you in.
You
and
could
weld them
never do
shut.
that in the U.S.
No,
But what
no way.
about in India with the sticks? If you were out in public, you see
Yeah.
videos of that, bro, they would go and start like beating
Eating
you,
you.
like whipping
Jesus
you until you go
Christ.
home.
So I have 5 employees in the Philippines, and they actually did something pretty cool there. They gave every household like a pass, like a badge that you have to wear.
Mm-hmm.
And so your household gets one, and you're not allowed to leave the house unless you have a badge on. And if you do, you get detained and
Oh,
arrested.
so one person at a time, basically.
Yeah, so if you got to go to the grocery store, you
Mm.
got to go do whatever you got to do, like you can do that. Like, but it's one person from your household. And also, like in that point, you can make sure you're not sending your 75-year-old grandma that, has like a disease that or can get sick
Mm-hmm.
out to do it. You have
Right.
someone younger.
Yeah. So
And
see-
because
go ahead.
but I mean that's like a good way. Like I mean But that was something
you're saying like at its worst though, like when we had to be locked down.
They're
that's
still
a good
that
way.
way.
No,
That's how they
you're
dealt
saying,
with the problem.
I know, but you're saying like that's a good way to deal with it when you're in a full lockdown. Not
Yeah,
what like. Do you think
100%.
that that's what we should do right now?
Well, it's getting worse right now. I mean, it's pretty gnarly.
Okay, so
It's
let's
cold
just
and
say
flu
like
season,
in,
Yeah, for sure.
exactly.
Well, there's
So
no
why-
such thing as the
but-
flu anymore. You guys got to remember.
Yeah.
If you get
though.
sick, it's COVID.
It's
100%.
COVID.
Don't
One
even
of
get
the-
tested.
Because I was thinking one of the pitfalls that could be like deemed in America is the fact that from our roots,
Yeah, that'll never work.
We were flipping off England.
100%.
We're gonna go do it ourselves. So there's trickle down effects of that ideology of just like kind of fuck you. No, I don't want to wear masks. No,
Mhm.
I don't want to lock down. Which is why we've had some of the worst spreading in the United States, I believe. But on the flip side, there's a lot of pros to that too, which is why we've had the greatest economy and some of the like the best military and all these
Mhm.
different pros of that ideology of like fuck you, like we stand for ourselves, we do it ourselves. It's like, okay, now you get a pandemic and you got people that don't want to listen to maybe like, hey, put on your mask and
Mhm.
be a little bit more social distant, then you're gonna get higher spread. That's
Yeah,
just a
100%.
fact. But then Nick, you brought up, I agree with the fact that if you're like predisposed to a certain like health conditions and you should be worried about it a little bit more. That should have been calculated in the beginning. Like, okay, these people need to get almost their 14 steps or whatever the federal government was putting down, like how they should be socially distant and
Mhm.
really strict. And then in order to keep the economy running as best as you can, maybe keep people that are healthy and young still working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So then you shut down the people that are going to be affected by it worst, or you even don't even shut that. You give them educated advice to where hopefully the people are intelligent enough to like make the best decision. But dude, that's not the case. You have so many
No.
people that are just, oh fuck you, like you're telling me what to do.
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's-
go out in the streets. and do this.
okay.
Like,
So I think about this like so California's response to things. It's kind of like an asshole parent. Okay, so if you have a dad who is just like, you may never wear revealing clothing, you may never hang out with friends, you may never go to parties, etc. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go get high with your friends and go to parties because you're like, fuck you, dad. Like
It's
you're
the
a
worst thing
douchebag.
you could do to hurt him. Like
yeah.
like because you're pissed
Well,
at him.
well
Yeah.
and if he has no trust in you and he's not going to allow you to do anything, then breaking a little rule, what's the difference between a little rule and a big rule? It's
Yeah.
all the same thing. You're breaking the rules. So fuck it. I might as well have a really good time. And so it's the same thing with like, you know, if the governor, the way that Newsom talks to people, it reminds me of like a pissed off dad. He like talks down to the people
100%.
of California. But because of how restrictive they are, people are like, well, fuck it. I might as well just do whatever. But if it's like, hey, let's educate you. Let's not make this political and let's recommend things. And then maybe like, you know, maybe we shouldn't have raves right now. Maybe stuff
Yeah.
like that. Let's close down.
Yeah, bars. You guys are closed. Sorry. But we're going to help you out financially.
Either that, I mean,
Like-
but even a bar though, like you can still make a bar safe-ish, I
Yeah.
think. But just kind of what I'm getting at is that like if you have these crazy tight restrictions, people are gonna rebel.
Yeah.
But if you don't give them something to rebel against, like make it a thing that is like, hey guys, let's all participate in this. I'm not telling you what to do, but let's make the best decision here.
especially in the United States, though,
Yeah.
there's still gonna be a percentage of people, even if you present evidence and you're recommending things not in a dictator way, but
Of course, it's not gonna be 100%.
there's
effective.
gonna be people that still like, no, fuck you, I don't want to listen to the government at all. And not only that, in the United States, by our foundation, there's gonna be a larger percentage of those people, which a lot of the people on the left, people in cities, they look down upon those more rural, like kind of Trump supporters, and
Yeah.
rightfully so. But then also like take a step back and be like, okay, if this is a problem, how do we solve it? And then like, can you put yourself in their shoes and understand that someone that's been on like the farm for generations doesn't like the fact that like their government or people in power are like telling them what to do.
Yeah,
It's just
giving
like you
them
take
more
a step
power.
back, you can kind of see it. But God, it's just at the end of the day, there's going to be some people that are pissed off. You
Mhm.
can't 100% make everybody happy.
I just
It's
think
just-
telling people what to do, like when someone tells me what to do, I don't want to do it because I'm just like, screw you for telling me what to do.
Well, especially when the logic's not there. I mean, that's
God,
Well,
God,
and
how
when
it
the
feels.
science isn't definitive on any,
No.
if unless something is 100% conclusive, then you can't tell people you have to do something. I think you should recommend it. Because, so for instance, like mask wearing, at first, like when it started becoming recommended, I didn't mind it. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's probably a better thing. I should probably do it for myself and for others. But then when I started getting told I had to, I started not wanting to, because it was just like, fuck you.
It's the rebel in us.
Yeah, I want to not do it.
So
I want to
think
tell you, fuck you for telling me what I need to do.
I think that's a very American trait, though, because we've
100%.
got like Levi's sister in Germany. They, I mean, God, you could trace back why they think the way they do now.
Yeah.
Very much so listen to government. They don't want to like piss anybody else off. But it's just different. That's America. It's got its.
But if you
pros
read
and
the
cons.
restrictions, it's funny because none of it says you have to. It all says it's recommended. Because there's and I'm not. And
what
I'm
do you
not
mean though? Because there are
Well,
things
like
that there are like
restaurants and stuff
massive
being closed.
fines and stuff if you don't.
But
do
there's
them.
not.
No,
I mean,
yeah, there are.
But I mean, like these. So one of my father-in-law's biggest clients is Javier's or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of restaurants in Newport Beach that are open. Like you can go sit down and
There's
eat.
restaurants
and stuff.
everywhere that are open for sure.
They're not getting fined.
No, I'm pretty sure they can.
They can,
Yeah.
but the problem is, it's like
Who's gonna enforce it?
that's the problem. Is the courts
Yeah.
aren't going to enforce it. I
Right.
mean, our sheriff in Southern California, like sheriffs of L.A. County, San Bernardino County, and Orange
Mhm.
County, have all like said we're not responding to calls.
Sure.
So I mean, it's one of those things. Like people are kind of like just over it. Like you're saying, like fuck you guys,
are
we're not going to
over
do it.
Even Fitness 19, the gym that I go to,
Yeah.
they've been pretty much open the entire time,
Yeah.
and they're they're in an active case right now, trying to like say that they're an essential business.
Mm.
Well, they are.
I think so too. I mean, I've been going this whole time.
I mean, if you can't, I mean, parks are closed. You can't go to a park and walk. You're not supposed to. That's technically.
Now you can.
Is that one open?
Yeah,
now?
with
so like
the,
Irvine
with
Park's open.
with the new stay-at-home order this time around, Newsom said that you should go outside and exercise and you should go to the beach, which is funny because during summer when it was warm, people were going to the beach. He said you can't go to the beach. The beach is where you get it.
Yeah.
But now he's saying, he legit said go to the beach, go to the
Nice.
park, go outside, do all these things.
Dude, listen to this. So I'm laying on the sand at, I think it was like L Street in Newport,
Mm-hmm.
and this is when we were like, you were supposed to be active. Like if you were going to be at the beach, you couldn't just be laying down
Oh
chilling.
yeah,
You
that's
had-
right.
So this lifeguard comes up to our group, and there's like 3 or 4 of us, and you could he was kind of like hated what was coming out of his mouth as he
Yeah.
was saying it, but he had to tell us. He's like, guys, just make sure you like get up and like move around. Don't just be like laying on your towels. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is this? This
Just
is
you
so
gotta
weird.
move a little bit. Just move a
You gotta
foot.
be active. I'm like,
Should be
bro,
like, well, my
I'm
girlfriend
getting-
and I were just fucking. So is that active on the beach or?
I'm like, dude, I'm here getting some vitamin D. That's supposedly
Yeah,
that's supposed to be good for you.
exactly.
It's so stupid.
All right, let's
All in all, it sounds like we're.
But see, like what I was
anti-COVID
saying,
right
like
now.
I mean,
Oh
I
my
would say I'm a
God, so
pretty
many things.
informed, like an informed citizen, and like I don't even know all the rules because they change all
they
the
change
time.
too often. No,
And
exactly.
when you tell me that we're on
it's
lockdown,
too confusing.
well, if you say you're on lockdown, shouldn't that mean you should just be at home? Like, oh no, but you can go to the beach and go here, you can go here, you can go here. It's
You
like,
can go to Home Depot. you can-
yeah,
go
I would
Target.
no. If you're on lockdown, I think it makes sense to like most of the time you stay at home, but going to the beach, going to the park, like there's additional.
no, I totally agree. I'm not saying that I think it's wrong. I'm
The
saying like, but I'm
inconsistency,
saying
though.
like as
Right.
an informed citizen, like I still don't know all the fucking
Well,
rules.
and the other thing too is like essential. Like that's a subjective term. That's really
Yeah.
hard to make objective because like what is essential to one person might not be to another, and then like everybody's job to them is essential.
yeah, exactly.
So I think that's really hard to make that to make that distinction between what's essential and what's not. Something I wanted to bring up though about COVID that I remember thinking about this like 6 months ago was so in Colorado they closed the creek, like the best part of the creek to go hang out at because they didn't want people gathering, and so they put up these barricades and it worked for like a day, and then after like a day everyone was like, well, the cops aren't enforcing this, so we're just gonna go to the creek. And they did, and it was honestly probably worse than before they put up the barricades. And it got me thinking about rules. So when you have a set of rules or laws in a country, state, city, area of any sort, if suddenly you realize that like they don't matter because no one's enforcing them, well, so then you're essentially kind of starting anarchy. So if suddenly like, oh, going to the park is illegal, but I know no one enforces it, so I'm going to do it, then the next time you're at a stoplight and you're like, oh, it's red, but no one enforces rules anymore, so I'm just going to go. And then that escalates to like, oh, well, I'm supposed to buy this for $1.99, but no one really enforces rules anymore, so maybe I can just take it. So I guess what I'm getting at is that like you're kind of setting up people for this idea of like, oh, rules don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so I could do whatever. And it's like the gateway drug of like, of doing worse and worse crimes of, oh, well, I could just go to the park because, you know, fuck the cops. They don't do anything. They're not going to respond to this. Does that escalate? Do you set up a society for not
like
following
rule
any
breakers?
rules eventually? Do you make rules not matter?
Do you remember like on Seattle, or what was it, Oregon or Seattle or Washington that passed the law that like decriminalizing drugs
Mm-hmm.
or whatever?
Mhm.
That's kind of like a step back to like fix that issue. What you're talking about is they decriminalize like drugs,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean you're allowed to do drugs. It means that if you get caught with possession, you're not going to get arrested, or like they'll take the drugs.
Sure.
But if you read the law, it's actually like, I actually totally agree with it. All these people are freaking out. They're like, oh, that place is going downhill. Drugs are legal. Here we go. Like
Everyone's doing drugs anyway.
But what it's doing is it actually like enforces the law to, if you have enough to like sell, you are now going to get trial. So it's going to help. It's going to unpopulate the jail so they can arrest the people and have the time to arrest the people that are selling the drugs. Drugs are not legal. Possession of drugs, you're not going to get taken to jail.
You're not going to go to prison because
have personal use of meth on you.
Well,
Yeah,
but you know what else is
learned.
good about this though? Is so like if say you're high as shit on heroin or something and you're like, oh, like I don't want to die. So you go up to like a police officer and you're like, hey dude, I'm wigging out. Like I got all this heroin. Maybe you have it in your pocket too. You can seek help without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, it's
you're playing on the idea of like people hide things when they think it's like they're gonna get in trouble or something's wrong. Then you won't be as honest.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
well, but yeah, exactly. So like people would seek treatment more often if they know that they're not going to get in trouble for it. At least I think they would.
Yeah, you're gonna call the cop and be like, "Hey, I have heroin," but
yeah,
but
well,
I know that means
imagine. So it's the same thing with like, okay, so think about like 18-year-olds that are like drunk at a party, and you're like, "Oh shit, my friend's throwing up. He's really sick." So but you know that like, oh, if I call the cops, they're gonna know that I was drinking. He's gonna get in trouble for drinking. So what do? We just do nothing, and then that kid dies from alcohol poisoning or something. But if you make it chill for you to be like, hey, we're all high or we're all drunk or whatever it is. I don't want to get in trouble, but I want my friend to live. You have that ability to do that now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would hope that a cop in that situation would be like,
I
willing to
think
help.
so.
to
I
bring
think in
this-
some areas though there are laws
To bring
around
it back
the
to
drinking thing like
COVID,
that.
I get what you were saying with the rule breaking thing. Like I'm not 100% convinced. It's
It was
kind of
I made a terrible argument. For
no,
it.
it's an experiment that would have to be like played out. But I think too, we were so scared initially. Even scientists, it was a new virus. We didn't really know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as people didn't see like fellow citizens dropping dead in the streets, because that was kind of like
Yeah,
the
that was-
vision, at least. I mean, not really for me, but I think a lot of people were just like,
Sure.
holy fuck, this is going to like end the world
Yeah, if
almost.
you get it,
People are
you're
gonna
dead.
Be, yeah, people are going to be dropping dead in the streets. As soon as we figured out like, wait, this is kind of like flu-like, and
Mhm.
you know, I personally, and I want to get someone in here that has really been affected, whether it's like
Yeah.
the death of a family member, because
Sure.
I need that perspective. I've heard it like loosely, but I haven't sat down with someone that's really, really negatively like been affected by
Mhm.
it. So biased in that sense. But I'm bringing it back to where the vast majority of people, even if you get infected, whether you're asymptomatic, people aren't dropping dead in the streets.
Right.
So then those lockdown procedures and something that was meant us like to prepare us for that really extreme scenario,
Mm-hmm.
there was an inconsistency where like people are like, wait, this seems way too extreme for what the virus is actually doing to
Mhm.
us. I think just people, whether you're like super intelligent, super educated, left, right, black, white, doesn't matter. If you were dealing with like a black plague or some extreme like virus,
Mm-hmm.
people would be scared to like leave their homes.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it wasn't as bad as we thought. Be like, oh, do you know what?
It's like
I'm healthy, I'm
self-regulating
good.
almost.
How bad can it be if you could sleep in the same bed as someone that has it and not get sick with it?
Yeah.
Well-
But then on the flip side, I gotta say too, like how many millions of people
Sure.
have passed away from it, and
Sure.
that there's so many things to be said
We're
like,
biased because, like you said,
Yeah.
we haven't been that affected by it. I mean,
Yeah,
how do we start this podcast? Was like 2020 wasn't that bad. It didn't really affect us. So we have to recognize the fact
It's
that a lot of what we're saying about all of these things is that we have a perspective of I guess privilege, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, my opinion on it is it's a really bad flu, and it's fucking people up. Like, people are getting really sick from it. It's really contagious, but people are getting pretty fucked up from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but who's to say that, you know, if those people got pneumonia, they wouldn't have passed? I mean, you don't know.
But so like when you get like the flu or a cold, like oftentimes that turns into pneumonia and then you die of pneumonia. But now if you get COVID and that turns into pneumonia, you die of COVID.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you die of pneumonia?
It's financial incentives.
I know it's
100%,
that shit scares me because I think the numbers are so wrong. I know. So I met this family over the summer and they were telling me how they had a friend who he died of a stroke in like May. Yeah. And he has a stroke. He's at the hospital. They pronounce him dead. And on his death certificate, they put COVID-19. Yeah. And the family was all, what? He didn't have COVID. They're like, oh, there's COVID on this floor, so he might have had COVID on the floor, or he might have gotten COVID. So it's a COVID-19 death.
Hospitals get
a lot of money for it. Yeah,
like $14,000 per death.
Elon Musk was talking about this with Joe Rogan, how he was saying, he was like, that's not a conspiracy at all. Like, that's a well-known thing. And it's unfortunate that you almost can't blame the hospital for doing it because it's like, oh, well, the hospital's not doing elective surgeries right now. And so instead of laying off that surgeon, it's like, well, we can get $20,000 if we just say this person
exactly.
died of COVID.
So the intentions in building that like business model for the hospitals, I think, was justified.
It is. But it fucks the rest of us economically because then the governor's like, oh, 8,000 people died of COVID today when maybe like 14 of them really did.
And you brought up testing and the potential like
fuckery of it.
The fuckery of it. Okay, so I'm not going to mention name, but I know someone super close to me actually this past week who tested positive
Mm-hmm.
and was like, no, like, there's no way. I feel 100% they're off on a business trip and they're supposed to be like active and they're doing things. So a positive test means you're shutting down your life for 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, fuck no, like, give me another test. Took another test. 2 days later, he was negative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a false positive, which exists. How many people are shutting down their lives from false positives?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you want to play it safe. You don't want to spread blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But that was something that was presented to me just a couple days ago, which cements the fact that there are false positives. So you get tested.
Oh, there's definitely false positives.
You get one test and you shut down your life, or you're freaking out and things happen and you're like, well, wait, maybe I wasn't even positive. How the hell do you get a false positive? Like, I mean, we're not experts in
my
it,
sister's roommate, she got a positive and then a negative and then a positive again. So she's waiting. She has to get 2 negatives before she can go back to work.
Yeah, is it a false positive or a false negative?
Who
at that
knows?
Point? Yeah.
But you know what sucks though is so if you go get tested and you test positive and then 2 days later you're like, I don't think that or I want to go get checked again to see if it's gone away, and you test positive again, that's 2 positives in the count for the week.
2
it's
tallies.
Like, but it's the same person. So if you go get tested 5 times in a week because you're like, I want to see when it drops off or when I no longer have it, that's 5 cases is what they consider it.
Yeah.
The numbers are so off. They're so fucked up.
Yeah. I'm going to get someone in here eventually. Like, once everything settles down and you can like really look back at data and like reports and whatnot, I definitely want to do that.
I can't
but
wait
everyone
for like
knows,
10 years
I mean,
from now.
Shit, COVID, it's still here. Today is
10th.
Sunday, January 10th. And it's going to be here for a minute. I think any pandemic will span like 2-ish years.
Yeah.
And
Selfishly, I love it. It's good for business, but
you dickhead.
I know. I feel like such an ass.
Hold on. I want to ask you guys just quickly. What do you think of like like live at your own risk type perspective of COVID? So like when you go to a swimming pool, public swimming pool, and it's like swim at your own risk. There's no lifeguard on duty, no lifeguard to watch over your life to make sure that you don't drown. So swim at your own risk, and that's it. Like if you drown, you drown. That's your fault. What if the government was just like live at your own risk?
So
what do you think of that?
I like the idea on the surface, but I don't like it because I'm a believer in your individuality and ability to do what you want with your life until it starts affecting other people that aren't asking for your burdens. But
what if those people, they don't care about it or if they care about it, if they're concerned about COVID, if they just stay home, then how
I get what you're getting at.
you
So
know?
if there's a community, if there's 100 people at a pool who choose to drink, dance to a DJ,
Mhm.
kiss up on each other, whatever, they're a group that is all agreeing to live this scenario that you're saying. What's the term you deemed it again?
At your own risk.
At your own risk.
Yeah.
As soon as that person who, let's say, gets COVID at this party with 100 people that were down to live at their own risk, and they go to a grocery store, or if they go like shake someone's hand or have any sort of business interaction or any sort of interaction where that person didn't know necessarily that you were at that party living at your own risk, and now you're...
But they went to the grocery store. They assumed the risk of going to the grocery store, because if
But-
you go to the grocery
but if
store,
you
you know that there are possibilities that you could get COVID.
But you start breaking this down though. That person that is trying to play it safe needs to eat. So that's fine.
yeah, you have Instacart. You have
okay. So if they
you
want
have
to be,
delivery.
if they want to be
You have
locked,
so many options that you can completely live your life.
is it free?
Like if you have Amazon Prime, you can get Whole Foods for free.
All I'm saying is if you take that scenario and you start breaking it down level by level, there are going to be instances where people who are deciding to live that fuck you life, whatever, you're going to have transmission to someone that doesn't want to deal with your like burden of doing that.
But maybe
that's
maybe not
when-
though, because because if the world could live in sort of two different perspectives of like the people who are concerned take every precaution, and the people who aren't concerned don't give a fuck. And I'll probably argue against my own self in a second. But
That's okay. That's good. That's
yeah,
a good skill.
no, but so
practice.
because if you're at your own risk, you're assuming your own responsibility, and so by going to the grocery store, it's at your own risk. You understand that you have a risk of getting it because somebody could have just gone to a party or a rave or something before that, and you could possibly get it. So you either choose to go and you mask up, you wear your gloves or a hazmat suit, whatever the hell you want to wear. Or if you're a concerned person, you choose to do that, or you choose to just get it delivered to you to reduce any risk of getting it. So you have the option to not be to not have the risk. So essentially what I'm saying though is that if you allow this, then you allow the economy to continue, and you allow the people who are not getting COVID or who are not severely affected by COVID to live their lives. And I don't necessarily think that's the best thing. I was just curious of your guys' perspective, because the other thing too is like, so all these people who live at their own risk, they all go to this party. All of them get COVID. The ICUs get over their over capacity, and then like, man, I break my neck next week and I can't go get anything done at the ICU because it's overrun.
No matter how you cut it, there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
Well, I think the real question is like, what's the exit strategy for COVID-19?
Yeah.
Like what I feel like there's just gonna be a point where it's like, okay, people are getting the vaccine. It's like getting a flu shot. They're getting the flu shot now. That doesn't mean it's going to completely go away. There's always going to be the people that aren't going to take the vaccine, just like there's anti-vaxxers that don't get their kids vaccinated and all that stuff. I don't think there's an exit strategy.
No, that's how this works. It's never going to go away. It's here, and it'll mutate, and you adjust the vaccine based
100%.
on that. But their exit strategy right now is leaning on the vaccine, which makes sense. And there's crazy conspiracy theories
I get it.
that
I agree with it. I'm just saying, what's the exit strategy? Like, there's going to be a point when things are going to have to go back to normal. Maybe we have to wear masks, whatever. But like, we're not going to not be able to go back to restaurants. People aren't. You know what I mean? It's like, and then
Yeah,
you're going to be
hold
living
people
at your
down
own risk at
forever.
that. Well, you're going to be living at your own risk at that point. So
I
it kind of
think
answers your question.
the
I think that
balance-
it's like inevitable before people are just going to like turn it loose and say, "Oh, let's
But
see how
maybe
it
though
goes."
they're like reducing the ability for it to transmit at a high level before they allow us to assume our
yeah,
own
they'll look at
risk.
the numbers. It's a balance between herd immunity and the vaccine.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
It was just the fact that it was a new virus, so you don't have any vaccines. You don't have any like preparation for it. It's just there, and you don't know how it really works. You don't know if it's airborne. There was just all this uncertainty, and over
But that
time,
wasn't why they
that's-
closed down the economy. That wasn't
Of course
why.
it was.
No,
They
the-
wanted to keep their
when
main
they
argument was hospital capacity is going to get overran
yes.
because it's such a deadly, like harmful virus.
But it also is because PPE wasn't available. They said that the original shutdown was for 2 weeks because they said we need to, stock up on our PPE and get production to be ahead of it so we'd be able to get PPE out
That's
to
true.
the hospitals and to the people.
So that's a bright side of all of this is hopefully it sets precedent to dealing with a similar problem
In the
better.
future.
Yeah.
Because it just, and then not only that, you brought up a lot of goods coming from China. Most of our PPE was coming from China.
3% was.
Oh,
made
this
in
is
the US.
diversified, like so much of production or manufacturing for things. I mean, plus Trump putting those taxes.
So on the bright
too.
side. But okay, so let's wrap up COVID because
COVID.
everyone's heard it and we've all experienced it.
We don't want to
But
live it anymore.
The exit strategy, I've been following a couple people on social. I think like a half a dozen nurses who are about to get their second dose. I want to start talking to them and just to see how, given most of them are young, and I think statistically it doesn't, like the second dose, I think gives you symptoms. Some people, I know there's conspiracy theories like, oh, it gives you, what is it, like Parkinson's or paralysis of your face, like different things.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to people that have actually gotten it. But in terms of
but-
exit strategy,
Wait, hold on. What do you want to talk to them about? Because like, how would they know much of anything?
well, I mean, that's a small sample set. No, just to get their personal experience with getting the vaccine.
I know, but like, what's the experience going to be besides like they put a prick in my arm? It's been like, a
No,
couple
exactly.
weeks.
I want people to hear that they got the vaccine and they didn't drop dead, basically.
Or they
And
get really
given-
sick. Or
Well, but
they
that's
get-
I don't think that's people's concern. I think the concern is the long term, and so that's like it's not that like, oh, I'm going to get the vaccine and I'm going to die tomorrow. It's I'm going to get the vaccine and in 10 years I'm going to grow a third leg.
Yeah.
But people always are
No,
afraid of vaccines.
okay, so the biology behind like the people that develop this stuff, I mean, like what you just said is an extreme example. That I don't think that makes sense. It's funny.
I don't think people really think they're going to grow a third leg. I'm just saying that they're going to have some sort of repercussion. Some
because
sort of
you've seen
effect
commercials. It's like
years down the road.
you've seen the commercials where it's like a law office that's calling to action. Like,
Exactly.
did you take X in like
Exactly.
1985? You are. I don't think that's how vaccine. And I'm not an expert, so I can't. But the way they developed it was obviously expedited, and
Yeah.
it's not that you're getting, to my understanding, a true dose of the virus. What they put into you is some sort of pathogen that triggers a similar protein, like immune response to it, which gives you like it. It's almost like the virus
Yeah.
was in you,
Yeah,
but
I
it's not
understand,
true like COVID that if you
Sure.
were to catch airborne.
Would you take it right now?
Yeah,
Would
it
you-
sounds like Zach wants to get the vaccine.
Would you get the vaccine right now if someone offered it to you? Because I've already been offered it,
No,
and I turned it down.
Just because, for one, I don't come in contact with people that, like, I haven't seen my grandparents or like I'm not going to pass it off to someone that's like would be like me imposing my will upon them.
Yeah.
I have faith in my health and the way I live my life to where either I'm going to get it naturally, which I'd be down for, or when the vaccine has more testing in it,
That's how I feel.
that
too.
I'll wait for it.
Yeah.
I would.
But
I just
let's
wanna
say
wait.
if
I don't
I
wanna
was
be a
like,
guinea
if I
pig.
was a nurse,
Yeah.
if I was a nurse, or if I was around a bunch of people all day, if I was a school teacher, I would weigh and measure like how my lifestyle choices are affecting the people around me. I might be
Yeah.
more like, I might get at that point.
Zach,
But-
you know how you said how you're not going to buy the first round of the Bronco? You want to wait for them to like work out all the
Exactly.
bugs. That's how I feel about the vaccine. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that I really ever need to get it or want to get it because I'm not concerned. I'm almost positive I already had COVID and like nothing happened. But what I'm getting at is that like I think it's good for some people to maybe wait for the second round. I don't know. I'm actually stoked that a lot of people are getting it though, because then that means quicker for the economy to go back to normal.
Yeah.
But I read somebody just like sharing a thought of, hey, maybe all frontline workers shouldn't get the first round, like maybe half, just because like let's say that in like 6 months we find out that it
Oh,
like makes you
shit.
really sick. What are we gonna do with all the nurses, all the firefighters, all the paramedics? All of them are fucked up.
Dead.
Or even though it would add another expense, hit every frontline worker with the antibody test, even though that's not 100%, like it doesn't work all the time. Even if you've had it, you still can like either you won't show antibodies, but
Yeah.
before they get the vaccine, hit them with the antibody test. Oh, you've already had it, even though you're asymptomatic.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to give this person the vaccine. Maybe save it for like elderly person.
I just
or
think
whatever.
that they should have just maybe just been like, hey, since we're not 100% positive of what's going to happen with this, maybe only half of you guys get it. But I guess that's also why it wasn't like you had to get it. It's been like you have the choice, because I know a
Yeah.
lot of frontline workers who didn't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So COVID, we're gonna come out of it. I think the end of this year into next year.
How long do we just
I'm
talk
ready.
on COVID?
I'm ready to be back.
and a half.
I don't know. I'm ready to
Less than an hour.
freaking
Oh,
go
okay,
back
we're
to
good.
festivals and stuff. That's the one thing I miss. I miss just being around a bunch of people, like having a good time.
I just miss going to fucking dinner. I'm not being
Yeah.
honest. I just want to go to fucking
Still
dinner.
find
man.
some dinner places.
Yeah,
some
you
low-key
can.
I've been
places.
going to Newport like almost every
Yeah,
night.
you've had
But
some
it honestly, it is finally starting to like really get to me. Like before it was kind of just like, oh, it sucks, whatever, you know, it is what it is. But like recently it's kind of been like, dude, like I really miss hanging out with people. I really miss going to dinner. Like I just want to go get a beer somewhere sometimes with people.
We're creatures that like being in groups and socializing, and
Sure.
I mean that's just who we are. And this is taken. There's a sacrifice that needs to be made, though. I agree with that. And eventually, we'll all be back at the dinner table and whatnot.
Yeah, man. In like a year, or in like 3 years.
God, who the
I was
fuck
just saying
knows?
how in 3 years it'll be like the Australian wildfires.
my
How it's like,
God.
oh, the Australian wildfires, that happened. That's right.
So
The
you
same thing's
guys-
gonna happen with COVID.
God, you guys remember when we lost Kobe?
Hold
June
on.
This year.
I gotta go pee.
Go
So
for it.
you
Take a
guys
bus,
talk
take a
about
bus.
Kobe.
Dude, I remember exactly where I was fucking at.
Me
You know, they
too.
kind of
You
say
go
like,
first.
you know, they kind of say like, there's always that person like I remember my mom being like, I know exactly where I was at when Michael Jackson died.
Mm-hmm.
It's like iconic people from your time. I mean, growing up in Southern California, being a Lakers fan, like, I mean, Kobe was, you know, and like he lived in Newport. Like, you know, I'd see the dude around. Like, you'd see him at, you know, Fashion Island. You'd see him at the District, the movie theaters and stuff. Like, he was definitely part of like our little like area down here.
Where were you?
I was driving to the District, going to Board and Brew to get a sandwich, and I was at a red light right on Red Hill in Dyer or whatever road that is right there. And my wife was sitting in the passenger seat, and she's like, holy fuck, Kobe just died in a helicopter crash. And I'm like, no, fuck off. Like, there's no way. And they're like, yeah. And so I pulled up, you know, went online and searched like 5 different like media outlets, and they were all reporting on it. It fucked me up, dude. Like that really fucked me up. I was like, damn, man. Like, this guy was, you know, young. Like, he had just retired in the last couple of years. Like, you know, he had made comments like, this time is for my kids. Like, I spent the beginning part of their lives, like, not being around, traveling, dedicating my life to basketball. And, you know, he was like, this was his time to, like, hang out with his kids, coach them. You know, he was starting his own programs. He won, like, a, you know, Grammy or something, or an Emmy or whatever it was.
Something for like a documentary.
Yeah.
right?
And if you ever watch that documentary, it's pretty good.
Is it the one about
I haven't
him?
seen it.
The one that's in black and white?
It's in like a drawing. They did
Oh,
like
I
flip
haven't seen that.
animation. It's
Never
called like Dear Basketball.
Oh no.
It's
Dude,
just sad because he was.
It was a good little story too, man. Like, it was about his love for basketball and how he has to hang it up so he can like move on to other things in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
You-
you know, and like, it wasn't like he was sick. Like, he was making this because like he said in that, like, he was losing his first love. Like, you know, like
Wow.
hanging up the shoes for basketball. And so like, I don't know, that whole thing. And like, you know, I have 2 kids. Like, I couldn't imagine like, you know, leaving. So like, I don't know, it kind of hit me different.
I mean, he's just almost like a god in Southern California culture
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Also, I was
we
flying
love-
helicopters at the time.
Wow.
And I quit flying because of that.
Did you guys cry?
I cried.
I cried.
did.
I'm getting a little teary-eyed right now. I'm not
Really?
gonna lie, dude. I
No,
feel like
I straight up
like
cried. Yeah.
I don't think it was like a cry, but I had tears dripping down.
Nah, I got like the jumpy chin a few
Oh,
times
shit.
and some tears. I was cooking dinner one time, and I was like, I put on like a YouTube video on my phone, and it was like a memory thing of Kobe. I started crying as I'm cooking dinner, and then another time I was like, I don't know, I was doing something else, and I was watching Jimmy Fallon was talking about like a story of them hanging out when they were young or something. I started crying again.
I bet Aaron was like, "What the fuck?" He's
Yeah,
like a
well, 'cause-
basketball player.
Yeah,
You're
because
like,
I don't watch
understand.
sports. Like I don't
Yeah.
ever watch sports. She's never seen me watch sports. But like growing up, I actually did watch the Lakers all the time.
Me too.
And so yeah, Kobe was the dude. Like Kobe was the fucking
Even
man.
if you weren't diehard, you still.
But we
you
were
knew
also
Kobe
we were
was.
like we were in kind of an age bracket of like we were just old enough when he first started to
Yeah.
like recognize who he was, and it's like going through middle school when you're at school playing sports and stuff. Who you trying to emulate? So, you know, 30 years ago, you would have been emulating Michael Jordan. You're like, oh yeah, I want to be like Michael Jordan. But for us, we grew up in Southern California, and we're at the time period where Kobe's in
Yeah.
his prime, where we're little kids, we're playing sports, and we're like, I want to be Kobe.
Even when you throw up the ball, Kobe.
Kobe. Yeah, exactly.
Who the fuck throws a piece of trash in the trash can and yells Jordan? No one.
No one yells Bron.
Yeah.
It's all
for
Kobe.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was so sad. I mean, I think the most sad I got was hearing Jordan at what was it, his service that was
Yeah,
held in the
his-
Staples Center or something like that.
Him and Shaq's both there.
But I remember I was at Fitness 19. And I think I was like changing the music or whatever. I think Victor sent like an article to the chat. And I was like kind of like, wait, what? And I like when I actually read it and like it hit me, I remember like kind of falling to my knees. Like I literally like I kind of collapsed and I was just like, oh my God, like I can't believe it.
yeah.
And then what makes me most bummed is just imagining the scenario of what it's like to be in a fucking helicopter, like going down with your like daughter and other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I just that
Kind of
it seems like a movie. Like I can't even imagine it. And like Chase, you have kids and shit, but so you could probably on another level. I just
Yeah.
it's
I can
just
imagine.
it's so insane. And those terrible things happen like across the country. Car accidents, terrible things happen. This was just such a prominent figure that
Yeah.
now everyone had their eyeballs on it, and just I wish it would have been prevented. They were on their way to some sort of like
Basketball camp. It is like he has like a gym out
the
in
weather.
Calabasas.
Yeah, and the weather was super poor, and
It was actually pretty fucked up. I was doing helicopter like lessons at the time.
Oh, you were like learning to fly a helicopter.
Yeah, I had an
Oh, no.
appointment the next day.
I thought you
and
meant like
fucking canceled
you
it.
flew in helicopter.
No. I was like learning, and it was actually kind of nice. So I took the appointment the next day. I canceled the next day's one and rescheduled it. And it was kind of nice because I could go through like the instructor like kind of told me like what happened and what went wrong, and it was kind of a whole fucked up thing. Like the helicopter they were in, we're supposed to have 2 pilots. They only had 1 because the pilot that normally flew him, the head pilot, refused, and it was like Kobe
Why?
was like because of the weather. It was like they had to have special permission to fly in that fog, and they got it because they were able to like pull some like pull like the celebrity card to get him up. And the guy got like disoriented, and as a pilot, like you're supposed to be responsible for like the safety of the people, and he should have turned back. They were in a holding position over the Burbank airport, and he was like told not to proceed, and they didn't have the right equipment on board to like fly in those conditions. And he just kind of was like, yeah, well, we have special permission, fuck you. And like, and he got disoriented in the air and didn't know which way was up and crashed into a hillside. So it's pretty fucked up. But
I was thinking about earlier just the difference in leadership, losing someone like that, and given he's not in the political spectrum, like he's an athlete, so it's like more of an occupation where you can like the character, but that's someone that has so much praise and so much love. Like that's how people like interact, losing a truly like loved person, a leader, even though he was a hard ass and a lot of people like Jordan, like, he could be stern and mean and still be that leader that like tells you, fuck you, like pick up like hard work, he represented hard work, but he also had that side to him where he was just like a genuine soul. And just being in Southern California, like all those people that were gathering and just mourning like his death and whatnot. It was one of those situations where tragedy, like 9/11 too, for example, like brings people together.
yeah,
Kind of puts like your perspective. You go in autopilot oftentimes until something like checks your perspective. And I know after that, I was just more inclined to like give my like parents or brothers or any loved one a hug and just say, hey, I love you. Like, because you never know.
Yeah, life felt a little more fragile for sure after that one. And then COVID hit.
And it's different. But fuck. So that's another element to 2020. Let's see here. I don't know anything about that Oscar one. So
What, the impeachment of Donald Trump?
Let's do impeachment.
Wait, hold on. Before we get into impeachment, you guys didn't watch that movie? You didn't see
I didn't.
Parasite?
No.
Did you see it?
Was it good?
Oh, it was sick.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it.
You should watch it. That was like, because I watched the Oscars and I was just like, what is this shit? Like, what is this movie? Like, why'd they win everything? Screw these guys. And so then I watched the movie finally when it was free. It's free on Hulu right now.
No shit.
I think it still is. It was at least. So I watched the movie, and the movie is great. I thought it was so cool. It was so unique. Like, it was such a unique idea, but it was so cool because like these guys are from South Korea, and the humor, it's like this dark humor, and just the characters and everything is so like, it must have been so out of the ordinary for South Korea what they were making there.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's good. You have to read, everything's in subtitles. But it was fantastic. They did a really good job of making something totally unique.
Fuck yeah, definitely gonna check it out.
Really? Grant, it is?
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
nice.
So I mean, Grant.
It's fucking awesome.
Grant's in
fucking
film.
watch it
I mean,
Yeah,
he
dude,
knows all
I
this
went to
stuff.
film school too.
Grant, it's that good.
No, it's fantastic.
Dude.
It
I'll
was
have to
like
check it out for
everything.
sure.
It was unique. That's why it's so good. Is nothing's unique anymore. Everything's just like, yeah, we've seen that idea, we've seen that, but it was so unique.
Okay, so it's called Parasite, and I
Parasite.
think they're saying it's the first non-English. What was it, Grant?
Movie to win an Oscar, is that true? Really?
First foreign film for
Oh.
Best Picture.
Well, and it's the first South Korean film I think to win any kind of an Oscar.
you could scroll down a little bit
Yeah.
to it.
You know what?
We'll just go on this
I mean,
one.
look at all the trophies that dude has. That's
Um,
what,
okay, so
six,
best
four?
picture, best director,
That's
best
6
original
trophies.
screenplay, best international feature film. It marked the first time a non-English language movie won Best Picture. That's pretty
awesome.
wild. Hey, go back up real quick to we'll touch on the impeachment trial just
So
real fast.
This
Okay.
was such a fucking waste of time.
I mean, yeah,
It was-
initially, like, everyone's like, okay, someone in that power, someone with that personality, what's happening behind the scenes? Is he really on these phone calls scheming? And
Well, that's
It's
what
like-
he got impeached for. It says right there. It was for him.
well, it was the
asking
trial. It was an attempted impeachment, right?
No, he got impeached.
What? You can't get impeached and then still be in office?
Yes, you is. That's how it works. And so impeachment, all impeachment means is that you give the right to the Supreme Court to trial the president. That's what impeachment means.
so
And
what's-
so like when you get impeached, it now means that the Supreme Court can open, like they're accepting the case to trial him.
Oh.
But then it got shut down like first day.
What's
Yeah, I
the
don't know
final
anything
term
about
for it
this.
then? After impeachment, do you know?
It's like a removal of power. It's like
Yeah,
the
what happened to
15th
Nixon?
Amendment.
He
Nixon left
actually got, he
office.
actually
He
got
stepped down.
fully
But
out.
He stepped down.
But he was.
Oh, he did?
But
Yeah.
Nixon was impeached, was he not?
He was impeached. So was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton didn't have to leave office.
So impeachment.
Grant, can
just-
you Google real quick what's the step after impeachment?
It's like removal of power. I think it's the 15th Amendment. That's like what they're talking about right now.
right now?
About with like, they're talking about removing Trump before the election.
Well, I mean,
Before
you got,
that-
Once
you
impeachment
got censored
powers
on
are
everything.
suspended and the Constitutional Court decides whether or not the president should be removed from office.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean he's actually removed.
So like,
Click on the where it says people also ask what does impeachment actually do?
Through the impeachment process, Congress charges and then tries an official of the federal government for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors.
yeah.
The definition of high crimes and misdemeanors was not specified in the Constitution and has long been subject to debate.
So it goes to the Senate then, and the Senate gets to decide.
So, I think I
it's
read
like
that.
and it's a 2/3 vote.
So it was something in regards to him getting reelected for 2020, like his communications with Ukraine or whatever. He was trying to...
He used the Ukraine to look into the whole like Joe Biden
Exactly.
and his son Hunter
to help
Biden.
him better get elected for the
To have
next one.
dirt.
But it was all... It ended up... nothing went through.
Yeah,
So
no.
It was just another...
They came back that nothing happened. Well, that's what the report came back
And
and
I-
said. Yeah. So
And I get... Okay, so I'll give it to him when he says, I've been up against a wall this entire time. The media,
I
no
agree.
one's giving me the benefit of the doubt. He's had a hard run. I would also argue, like, hey, man, you're not fucking really making it easier on yourself. But
for sure,
Yeah.
he's a
But-
fucking
He's
idiot.
digging
dude.
his own grave.
yeah,
He
but
has been.
nonetheless, like, that was a character which is getting media companies ratings. Like, all right,
Sure, they're
let's spin this.
stoked.
Let's get a
They
headline.
love to hate him. They
What do
love him.
What do you think this guy's gonna do? I think he'll rerun in
Trump?
24. I
Yeah,
think
he's
he's
going
gonna
to.
start his own media company, like he's gonna have his own fucking news station, or B, he's gonna write a tell-all book. And I think that tell-all book will like get him.
He'll probably write a book. I don't know.
I think the media station would be more effective. Lots of people write books, you
100%.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Lots of them.
books kind of suck.
I don't think.
That's
But
true.
could you
I love
imagine he
books.
came out with a book? He's like,
You're
aliens
a
are
big
not-
reader.
I love books. I'm just saying. It's
I'm the
so,
one that needs to read
everybody
more.
has to write a fucking book. Like at some point, it's just
Yeah.
like I don't care that the guy that invented the rubber ducky wrote a book.
So
I
it
don't
didn't
care.
go through. Hey, Grant, can you
Could you
zoom,
imagine he
can you
writes a
zoom
book, he's
in on
like-
his
he's
face
like,
real quick? I just need
Aliens
a
are
good
not
laugh.
real.
Hey,
I
guys.
checked. Like
Yeah.
just,
Hey guys, look at that. You just need a good laugh real quick.
Yeah. No,
But-
he-
he's a fucking character, man.
he is a character. He's a TV show character that
God.
became the president.
Fucking gnarly. Okay.
Have you
so-
guys ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
So like,
he's like the guy. For
yeah, it's
Idiocracy.
like it's what's that guy's name? The actor.
I don't know.
God, I can't remember what his name is. But so essentially, like the premise of the movie is like humans over time they evolved to get stupid. The stupid people were the ones reproducing, and so people got stupider and stupider and stupider. And the people that were smart, they were focused on like stopping hair loss and like penis enlargement, and that's where all the science and smart people went into. So we got so stupid that we like forgot how to just do basic things.
It's on Hulu.
I watched it on like
Prime
HBO
Video.
who's
the
his
other day.
actor's name again?
Luke Wilson.
Yeah, this guy's fun.
Yeah. Go, Grant, will you scroll down? What's the Terry Crews is the guy I'm thinking of. That's who I'm thinking
Oh,
of.
Terry
Terry Crews.
Crews?
He's the president. But he's like a
Yeah.
WWE like champion, and they elect him as president. But it's like
Yeah, that's him.
the whole
That's his cabinet behind him.
The whole
Secret Service.
and when you're like elected, you wear this big old bling bling thing.
And
so
yeah,
funny.
his is gold and everyone else is silver.
This is 2006 too.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It was amazing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right,
That was a
hey
good
Grant,
one.
let's get to the next. Fucking Harvey
Harvey.
Weinstein, dude. This motherfucker.
Yeah, he deserves to die.
So so this morning, debate. I remember this was actually brought up too in business ethics.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of prostitution, which I
Mhm.
think is about to become legal. Grant, can you look up
Really?
what states it's about to become legal in?
It's
now,
legal
of
in
course,
Nevada with like
it's
permits.
this situation's a little differently, but before we get into this, I want to present the idea of, do two parties that are agreeing to, let's say, sexual actions,
Mhm.
and there's no wrongdoing happening, like no one is being held against their will.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a woman who's choosing as an independent person to sell her body in X manner because that's just what she wants to do,
Mhm.
and the male counterpart agrees to it. So it's a business
Yeah,
transaction.
it's the
I remember
simplest form of transaction.
I remember
I
in
mean,
class, professor was presenting the idea of like, is this a simple business transaction
Isn't that
where
like
two
the
parties?
oldest profession in the world
it
is
is, it's old.
prostitution?
Yeah, they say it is. Yeah.
So I
I've
mean,
heard that
just
before.
keep
I
that
don't
in
know if that's
mind.
true.
And then with Harvey Weinstein, I think it's different, or it's very different, because he
Yeah.
was leveraging, he was scheming, he was
The women
just being
did.
he had malicious intent sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. The women didn't want to have sex with him. They wanted what came
The
for
success
having
and
sex.
fame,
Well,
yeah.
like what came from having
can you
sex
argue
with
the
him.
same thing with prostitution? Like, do a lot of these chicks really want to bang these ugly dudes? They just want the money that's going to come from banging the dudes.
See?
But it's
Exactly.
like they want. I mean, yeah, I guess I get what you're saying, but it's like it's a simpler transaction than that.
It is.
It's like
it is.
if you want to wash my car, I'll
it's-
give you money.
So here's the
but-
thing. Here's where it's different. Is like, so a prostitute could turn you down and be like, "Nah, you're gross. You're skeezy. I'm not down." And she could walk away and she can live her life totally normal. Whereas he can be like, "Oh, well, if you don't do this, you'll never make it in this career,
Your
and your
career's
whole
ruined."
life is fucked."
Yeah.
So that's blackmail.
Exactly.
That's a
That's
difference.
what's
That's not a
different.
transaction. That's blackmail.
What do you
Yeah.
guys think? If he was a better looking person, do you think it would have anything to do with it?
no.
I don't think that he would need to do it. Maybe, I don't know.
I
Maybe
mean, it's a
'cause he's-
different situation. You know, George Clooney's on the other side of the
No,
table. The
uh,
girls might actually want to have sex with him,
Right.
but
No, straight question. It's like, well,
Yeah.
wait. So I'm gonna get rich and have a awesome career,
Or I get to
and
fuck you
to-
and
I
have a
get
good
to
career?
sleep with this
Yeah.
guy. That's
but
a fact. Is he looks like a troll? There's just something about him that's
but-
nasty.
But he's powerful. I bet he could have gotten so laid without
Oh, for
having
sure.
to force people.
it's just like Ron
so
Jeremy.
it was like a power hungry thing.
Yeah,
He
oh.
was just
Well, yeah.
obsessed
I
with
mean,
that.
like look at all the videos of people at like the Oscars and stuff. They're like, "Harvey, I love you. Like, you made my career the shit." Blah blah. They're like, "Oh, this is for Harvey. Like Harvey." Blah blah. People, even if you're a gross ass troll, people still want to bang you if you're
there's
Yeah,
someone
if
for
if you're
everybody.
super powerful
Yeah,
and,
if you're
and
powerful.
badass. Yeah, like quote unquote badass. You
Well,
know,
it's
if
just
you're
like when you-
badass in your industry or what you do.
Well, it's just like when you hear like Tiger Woods was cheating on his wife. It's like his wife was really good looking. And like, why would you be cheating? But it's like, you know, you have the power and people throw themselves at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Dude,
the same thing
you
like
could be the ugliest dude in the world, but if you are
money and powerful.
if you're
Bezos.
powerful and a badass at what you do, I'm telling you, there are a lot of people out there that would want to boink.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a sucker for love, so like when I hear these women's like testimony and stuff, I'm fucking disgusted.
Oh,
Like
it's
I just
disgusting.
Yeah.
I just could never treat someone like that. But
Did you watch the thing about Jeffrey Epstein?
we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
it's on
this
here.
list.
I
I
didn't
think
know
it
it
is,
was
yeah, it is on the
2020 or
list.
But this so Weinstein got COVID in prison, I believe. He's on his last leg.
Mm.
Homie's on a walker now.
Nice. Hold on. Speaking of Walker, can I just bring this up really quick? Did you see? So when he's like going and he's got one of those walkers, you know, and so like you see videos of him like going into court. Do you see how they have the little tennis balls on the back of them? Like how everybody cuts the tennis balls and puts it on the back.
Yeah.
Slide.
Why doesn't anyone just make the thing
don't
so
know.
that you don't have to put a tennis ball on it? If it's just like the
Never heard
norm,
this before.
if it's just the norm that you cut a tennis ball and put it on the back of this thing, why doesn't any manufacturer make it so that you don't need to do that? And it's also
probably a
funny to me
liability
because he is like this big powerful
Super
man, and he's
rich.
got this fucking tennis balls on the back of this walker.
It's probably honestly a liability
I've
thing
heard of
from like
this
a
before.
manufacturer, like because it kind of defeats the purpose of the walker almost. Because like you have usually on a walker you have to lift the back and then push on the wheels, and then if you're like in a fall you put it down and it's
People
stable.
like it custom, bro. They do that custom stuff.
Yeah. I mean, at least spray paint them black or something. Like
Anything. You've just got these stupid.
It's the,
tennis
what's the
balls
brand
on the
name? What's
back.
like a standard?
Pen or something, right?
yeah,
Still
Wilson.
got. Hey,
or
what do you
something.
got? I got my Wilsons on.
Yeah, Wilson. There you go. Isn't Penn one of them too?
Yeah, Penn's one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fucking
But
shitty
that
pens.
fucking guy. Can you Google real quick what is he convicted of? Like what actually happened? Because I'm pretty sure he got convicted in 2020. Weinstein, you fucking bastard.
Yeah, that
Doesn't he
was
have a brother? Isn't it like the Weinstein brothers?
Yeah, yeah.
His
There's
brother is his brother a creep like him or
criminal sexual act.
the jury.
It's in the
let's see.
wait, I think in the
The
article it
jury
says what happened to
finds
Weinstein.
guilty of a criminal sex act in the first degree and third
Yeah.
degree rape.
He'll
The
be gone forever.
67-year-old is convicted of sexually assaulting former production assistant Mimi Hali. How do you say that? Hali? In 2006 and raping ex-actress Jessica Mann in 2013. So there's two accounts there that were.
Man, that's it.
Well, look, he was sentenced to 23
mean,
years for sexual assault.
There's so many other
And then
women
it's
too
like, you
that.
just keep
Mhm.
going down. It like it just says all his charges. Another 23 years.
Oh,
So I mean,
gotcha.
he's gone forever.
yeah,
Fucking bastard. Rot in prison. So sad.
yeah, he's creep.
When I was working in the jails every night, Ron Jeremy was in there. Like in a
But Ron
cell.
Jeremy was in jail.
Yeah, he was in the cell. He's in jail for rape.
Oh,
Wait, are you
really?
serious?
He like raped a
In
bunch
the
of
same
girls.
prison you were?
I saw him every night. Yeah. fucking
you kidding me?
Dirty hedgehog, dude.
Like when you were cleaning them and stuff.
I was like spraying it, dude. And he's in there like ass naked on the suicide ward. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Whoa.
I wonder. I
Wait,
wonder
he
if
was
he's
ass
just.
naked?
I wonder if
Did you
he's
see
just.
Yeah, so when you like, because that's
Chase,
like what.
You think he's just wrecking dudes in there?
Nah, he's in his own cell.
You
Wait,
got what I'm
hold
saying,
on.
though?
Go back to his dick.
Oh, he's
Does
a
he
porn
have a big
star.
dick? Did you see it?
I don't
Wait,
look
I
at
guess
this.
that's
It was
not a
dark.
big deal. I could just Google it because
Yeah.
that's online.
Yeah, no, he.
That's all I was
That's-
joking at. Homie's just plowing fucking dudes in prison.
Yeah, no, he.
Oh god.
That's like
what
their.
Zach's thinking about.
That's like their move in jail, though. It's like if you want your own cell, you just say you're gonna commit suicide, and they put you in like a private
Yeah.
cell, and they said
but like Epstein, he had I think he had a roommate or something, right? Isn't that how Suicide Watch worked? At least in the
Yeah,
I
we're
don't
gonna
know.
we're
He was
gonna
in-
get to Epstein.
he was in
We're
New
gonna
York
get to
though.
Epstein.
so I
Actually,
don't
let's
know.
let's do that right now, just because it's on par. If you want to go down to Epstein's article.
skip it over something pretty.
I
big
know.
there.
No. We're gonna go back. We're gonna
I'm
go
just
back.
kidding with you.
This
Okay.
motherfucker
Nah,
too.
but this was just
and his girl
this
was
is just
sick.
So this year is just his girl because his thing was
He
what
was-
like 2 years ago.
He's like been dead.
Yeah,
since
he
last
died in
year.
like
All right,
2018.
well, let's tie it in. Let's tie it. That
Yeah.
those sicko. Just go back up to that other one, Grant. They're both sickos.
Yeah.
No, to his wife's article.
I
We'll
don't know
talk
if she
about
was
it
his
real quick.
wife. She was just his like partner.
Mistress.
Yeah.
Dude.
His alleged madam.
Fucking, it's crazy. Have you guys watched the documentary on him?
Yeah,
That shit was gross, man. That made me like
I know.
like
Makes you
talk
feel
about
pretty
it.
not chill.
I just
Dude.
like don't understand the underage thing. It's like what he was doing, honestly, like getting massages from girls or whatever. Like, why wouldn't you just be 18? Like, you know what I mean? Because then it's just like a. I'm not saying it makes it better, but I'm saying like
that's somebody's thing. Is like
He gets
Yeah.
off
you
on
you
it.
get off
Yeah.
on like the young and
yeah. I'm not
super
saying
youthful look.
I wasn't trying to say like what he did was like would have been fine if they were 18, but like from like a risk standpoint, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just
Like-
an extra level of
Well, you just
sicko.
get, well, you
Like
just
when
get hit with a prostitution charge instead of like raping minors. Like that's
Dude, you know Alex Jones called out Epstein's sex island
Like a long time
15
ago.
years
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
yeah.
That guy's psycho. I mean, he's wrong
No,
about
but
a lot
I-
of stuff,
dude,
but he
I
was right about that.
I remember he was on Joe Rogan's podcast in like 2015.
yeah.
And I remember him saying like he was just going off about some shit about how like there's like a sex slave thing, then and the government they're all about like fucking little kids and blah blah. And I was just like, what the fuck is this guy going off about? And then we find out about Epstein. I'm like, oh my God, that's probably exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So gnarly. So he
Yeah.
had Jeffrey's Epstein's alleged madam. What's her name?
Ghislaine Maxwell or
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine.
It just adds a whole nother element because he was a sicko and then he had a female who was actually like on his side
know.
as a couple, like going to parties,
Yeah.
living this lifestyle, and she was helping to coerce
Yeah, young
like
girls.
this whole like, weren't they almost calling it what's it called, like what's an MLM business model, like it's like recruiting, like
Yeah,
the
like
girls, you would get like a leader and then they would like recruit other young,
Well, it was disgusting because he would go to like the lower income areas, like
yeah,
where
more
he lived.
vulnerable people.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and he would offer them money, and like
Yeah, they
then
get,
these girls like,
$300 to give him
and
a
then if this
bogey.
girl like wanted to still make the money instead of like her having to do the sexual act, if she recruited someone, then like that girl kind of took the place to be like, you know what I mean? So it was
Mhm.
like he just had a long like a list of girls to choose from.
You think he was blackmailing like high end people? Who is it? The
Yeah.
CEO of Victoria's Secret, I believe,
Yeah.
gifted him
His
his $20 million
townhouse downtown.
in New
Yeah.
York. It was
Manhattan,
just
yeah.
like a gift.
Weren't they get in the documentary? Weren't they talking about like he went like gay with that guy or some?
I have no idea.
Well, that guy was gay. The guy from Victoria's Secret was gay. So I don't know if
they
like
got it something.
that kind of makes sense.
They got it. They got it something about that, about how he like blackmailed the guy because he like
I think he blackmailed a lot of people, but
by
specifically that guy.
like being the lover of that guy. I forget.
Okay, so
I'm not gonna talk.
What about Clinton? Clinton's been on his plane many times.
and to his
And then-
island
What
without
about-
Secret Service.
What
like,
about, dude, the painting he had? Did you
I
hear
didn't
about
see
that?
What
No, I didn't
painting?
hear
Bro, supposedly, no, I think this is a fact. Can you pull up Bill Clinton's painting in Epstein's home? Bro, he had an actual painting of Clinton in a red dress, like crossing his legs.
that. Oh, in a blue dress.
Or a blue. Look at this. No, this is like an actual painting. Guys, he had that in his home.
Wasn't that the dress from Monica
Nick,
Lewinsky?
he had that actual painting in his home.
Man, I don't see what's wrong with it.
Well, dude.
Bro,
I mean,
okay, so this is a president.
This
Yeah,
is
I
a
know,
guy
but
like-
saying I
but
had
yeah,
no.
but I know he knew that he was friends with Bill Clinton. Like,
Dude.
Okay, no, so
Nick, I don't
okay,
have a
so-
I don't have a picture of you in a dress in my house,
I
like
know, but,
chilling
like-
on my chair.
we know that Clinton's like a skis. I don't know.
Well, he's a weird dude. I mean, homie was getting BJ's
Mhm.
in
But
the
the Clinton
Oval
adminis-
Office.
But the Clinton people came back and said like, "Oh, he was just a friend. We weren't even that close of friends. Like, you know, he was a
Bro,
big donor to our like
this,
charity or something."
you can kind of point that this is just defines a strange relationship, to say the least.
Yeah,
Sure.
for
Homie
sure.
has Clinton, like an
Yeah.
ex-president of the United States, in a blue dress.
I would never doubt that Epstein had
That's
dirt
just
on a lot of
weird.
guys.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, it goes back to your prostitution question, though, Zach.
What the
It's like
fuck
if
is
this guy's offering a service, you know, I mean, he was doing a lot of wrong, but he has all these powerful guys coming to his island, and like where technically it wasn't illegal what he was doing.
Yeah, well, as soon as you hear testimony from these victims,
Oh, I
it-
know it's disgusting.
Yeah, and I'm not
It's-
saying you're saying it's okay. It enters another spectrum to where it's not a red light district.
No.
This is like cold-blooded, manipulative
Yeah.
people. There's something gross about someone with power and money, like manipulating someone for sexual acts. It's just disgusting.
I think
you know?
anyone manipulating anybody for sexual acts is pretty.
Absolutely,
disgusting,
but
but-
especially when it's someone under the limelight who's like using their power and money to take advantage.
Yeah.
It usually gets displayed on another level. Let's
I was actually bummed that Epstein died in jail because I was really I think
Oh,
he was
wait,
gonna
yeah.
like speak. I think he was
we
gonna
got to
talk.
touch on that real quick too.
I think he was gonna like sing in the courtroom because his court case was coming up. I think he was gonna go in there and like, you know,
So do you
Was
think
he
killed himself?
whacked or is
Yeah.
it suicide?
no, I think he got killed.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, no, there's a lot of stuff like the way his like bone in his neck broke.
That's
Yeah.
the evidence
It's
I've
like that
read.
doesn't- and
well,
then-
and like, why would he have he had like a bunch of clothes or stuff that he's not supposed to have?
Yeah, when
Like,
you're on
he
suicide
had a bunch
watch,
of like sheets or what was it? Whatever
Yeah,
the material
sheets.
was. It sheets? Yeah.
well,
Why
'cause
would
when
you
you're
have that in there?
Oh, the cameras went
The
out.
cameras, like there's just
Yeah,
there's just
the
too
guards
much.
didn't check on
Yeah,
him.
there's just
His-
too much that it's like. But also, I mean, is that much of a conspiracy that the government's going to try to cover something up? I feel like
That wasn't even necessarily government. I think it was individuals, potentially the Clintons, could have been some other billionaire
sure.
that he had dirt on.
But
And as
people
soon
of
as it would
power
have,
is
yeah,
what I'm
as
getting
soon
at,
as
yeah.
it would have, like, if he would have testified, I'm sure some crazy shit would have went out. So, I don't know though, because thinking like solving that, where it's gonna stem around money, like who's getting paid,
Yeah.
Couldn't you just follow the money like anyone in that network? Maybe because if the cameras went out and the guards were told to stand down, where are they getting funds from? Like you could watch accounts and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
But homie was whacked.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Stock market crash of 2020.
That's pretty gnar.
That was
That ties in
associated with COVID.
Yeah. I feel like
mean,
there
it's
might
bounced back pretty well though. So
Yeah.
And it was the suffered worst single day in the Dow Jones Industrial Average was on March 9th. Worst drop in
Yeah.
history in
I
one
remember
day.
that. I was pretty scared.
you know what's crazy is what really drives me nuts, and it's kind of going back to the presidential stuff, was like when they were trying to blame Trump for that. Like, oh, your economy's at an all-time low. It's like, really? You're going to say, like, unemployment's at a height right now? It's like, well, yeah, if COVID never happened, that wouldn't be the truth.
It just went on par with the blame game going
and,
towards him.
And that was the same with the stock market. The economy was getting shut down for the first time ever. And so everyone's, like, dumping their money.
Mm-hmm. And then you know how many rich folk just bought up at that low
yeah.
point?
I know.
Did you see, like, Tesla stock right now? You could have bought Tesla stock a year ago for, like, $60, $70 or something like that.
What's
It's like
that now?
700, $800.
Wasn't it more than that
No, I
though?
think it
Like
got down. Can you look up?
It was low, dude.
just go to
after he was on
Tesla
Rogan.
stock.
After he was on Rogan,
TSLA?
it like tanked. And then
that was the first time though. That was a while ago. That was
it was
like
like
and then
2 years
hit
ago.
the
That was like 2
1
years
year
ago,
chart.
But I'm saying like a year ago. It's so 880 right now.
880
It's up.
bucks.
Okay, and then go.
Go to a year ago.
So yeah, so we're on 1 year right now, and then
Yes.
hover the mouse above where it would have been
So
when the
100
crash happened. March. Go to March.
$100.
I'm not saying when the
Man.
Go to that low point to the
Yeah.
right. It's right there.
85
bucks. So what's it at now?
so it's up
880.
You-
Hover.
If you click
hover
there
over it.
and then hover again, click
So
and then
it's-
drag back. Oh, never mind. It's not like that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it
on
tells you
Mac, it'll tell you the spread.
the low exactly, but
what the
in
percentage
hundreds
it's up.
of percentiles. So what you have is people that actually have money and can absorb risk during that low point. Just made a lot of money this year.
Well, the reason Tesla stock is up right now is because of the Democrats can be taking the Senate or whatever, is because they're a energy company, so they're going to be investing money in like solar and stuff. So
Yeah, because that thing keep falling or what?
I don't know. I think I'm just fidgeting.
that's why that's why the market's going up for like the energy companies and stuff, because they know they're going to be passing deals.
Oh yeah, with the new
With the
new
Senate
president
flipping
stuff,
now.
too.
Well,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the
all
Senate
of
just
it.
flipped. It's all Democrat now, so I mean, those type of deals are going to pass quickly and swiftly.
yeah,
so,
that's another conversation. Solar and all that.
yeah. So, but I mean, that's what Tesla is. You got to remember, they're like,
Oh yeah,
they're considered an electric car company, but they're a tech company. They're not a car company.
absolutely. All right, Grant, let's go back to the 2020 article. So the stock market crash, we're back up, we're back moving. Oh, I totally forgot about this.
Yeah, this is like one of the biggest events of the year.
Black Lives Matter protests associated with
George
Floyd. Wow, where to begin? There is, I would say, systemic problems in the foundation of our country that has a bunch of different trickle-down effects, like without denying it at all. Only like talking from my personal experience, I've heard things come out of people's mouths that it's like, whoa, maybe America is still kind of racist, and a lot of people are.
100%.
But, I mean, that's just that's one part of the entire situation of George Floyd. Police brutality, like was killed by cops. One specifically who had his knee on his neck for too long, as everyone knows, and the autopsy reports came out and said yes, there was asphyxiation, which like had a large part to play, but he wasn't some spring cookie either. He had a lot of drugs in his system.
Yeah.
I mean, the act itself initially, was it just a fake $20 bill? Was Grant? Do you know?
I don't even remember now.
So something with like
that.
counterfeit money or
Yeah,
whatever.
it was counterfeit.
They were
Which
accusing-
the argument,
I don't
like,
even know if he did have a fake. I think they were just accusing it of being fake.
I think they confirmed
something
it
like
was
that.
fake.
Was it? Either
But
way.
it's just like the general premise of like, does that mean you should lose your life?
Yeah.
Of course not.
Yeah, does that
But-
warrant that?
No.
So,
But I don't think
things
anyone was
ensue-
arguing that. I don't think anyone was arguing
No,
that.
no,
Like,
absolutely not. Like things ensue. The cops need to be held accountable. And then the bigger picture is just cops treat people of color in a different manner than they do white folk.
Yeah.
That's what people were getting at. The racial injustices, police brutality. Riots and peaceful protests, majority broke out across the country. There were lots of riots. There was lots of like small businesses that were being burnt down. It's so sad. You remember like media spin too. I don't know if you guys saw the video where the reporter's like, and you know, it's pretty calm and like peaceful, and there's like burning buildings behind him.
I didn't see that.
But I mean, it's just like you have people that I think have good intentions and they're standing for change, and we all want
I think so too.
everyone to be treated better.
Yeah.
It's just how do you go forth in solving the problem without causing more of a divide, which I think is what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many things compounding. It's people pointing the finger at the other aisle. Trump, you're responsible. Racist cops, you're responsible. White folk who are keeping their mouth shuts are responsible.
White people that are saying,
and then
we
even
agree with you, you're responsible. Yeah.
Or even fellow people of color calling out other people of color who are like, you're just benefiting from this white system. Like, how dare you? Why don't you condemn the system which is causing all of this? And I've said it before on here. I don't think we have like a systemic, like the system isn't the problem. It's people are the problem. Like, you can fix systems, a business model, government, policy, whether you're renting or subleasing to people of color. You can fix that with ones and twos. You can fix it with a computer. It's the conversations. It's people's ideology over time, like what's actually going on in their heads. Like someone that's in a position of power running a company who is setting forth this ideology of like, oh, we only want to employ men, or we only want to employ white people, or and there's all these different things happening. But I think it's on the forefront of our heads now, and just I know for myself personally, just thinking about it and how can I do a better part in making our country and the world at large a better place, and having people's voices heard, and just really trying to find a solution for a problem, and not being so polarized with it. Like FUs, as you see on social media, and people really, really triggered, because I think they only think true change is going to come if you get to that point of really just calling people out.
But I think that's not the truth. I mean, unfortunately, I think the only thing that solves issues like this is time. I think that, like, I mean, where we were 100 years ago as like a society, I mean, there was legit racism then, where like people just hated you because of the color of your skin. You know, I see it with my kids. I ask my kids all the time. I remember when the Black Lives Matter stuff started popping off, like I asked them, I said, you know, like, what do you think of this? And it was like, they didn't even understand why people were saying that like his race had anything to do with it. And it's like, because like they truly aren't racist. Like they like, you know, and like
kids aren't racist.
Yeah. Like my son's 11
just
years
these
old.
newer generations.
Yeah. They're just less racist.
Racism,
and you talk to like your
racism is dying out over time. I think
exactly.
That's what you're saying.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And like you ask your parents, like, would you say your parents are racist? Like there's a tidge there for me. Like there's a little bit of a tidge, but like I'm way less racist than them. I would never say I'm racist, but like that was like the same thing. I asked my mom that, and my mom's, you know, a little racist, but like I asked her and she's like, I'm not racist. My dad was racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like that generation, like every like step down, it gets a little bit better. And like, so I feel like this whole like BLM movement, like I'm happy that they brought attention to it. You know, I think that like we need to like be told sometimes.
Sure.
But I feel where like BLM went wrong, in my opinion. And again, like, you know, I could be wrong on this, but it's like, I feel like they want answers now, and they want the system changed and everything to be better right this second, because they're upset. And like, I wish that was the case, but I just, I don't think that's realistic.
I think it's justifiable that they want that. I mean, absolutely. It's like,
I don't blame them.
Why should you, we want to talk about like COVID stuff. It's affecting our lives. We want things to change right now. Well, they're like, yeah, well, I want to be able to walk down the street and feel safe, and I want that to change right now. So they have the right to say that, but at the same time, I think you're right, though. I think that the only thing that's really going to fix it is time. And if you just suddenly are like, it's different, you can't erase the fact that, like, you know, an 80-year-old grandma just it's just in her brain. Unfortunately, like she grew up in a different generation of how they perceive things, and you can't just expect her to suddenly see it differently.
Yeah, I've said it
Even if
before.
you expose them to as much education as possible, there's always going to be an inclination that's there from their lifetime of something different.
Yeah,
Well, it's a
1960 wasn't that long ago.
No, it
I've
wasn't.
said that line before. And time, to go back real quick, because of course, it's easy for us to be like, oh, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
The fire isn't under our ass.
Yeah,
We're
you just have
reaping
to
the
be
benefits.
patient. Yeah.
We're reaping the benefits, in quotes, of the system that was designed for people who look like us, is an argument people would make. So I don't blame someone for being like, wait, my son, my daughter is the one out there getting killed or having to look over their back because there's racist cops who are going to treat them different. I understand. And saying time is going to heal it or fix the problem, I think is a fact.
Yeah.
And it's a sad fact because, Nick, like you said, that ideology in an elderly person's brain who has trickled down from the slave trader, and even before that, and you're passing down these certain points of view. And that's not to say we have changed greatly for the better in the past couple hundred years.
Yeah,
We're
for sure.
moving in the right direction, and it's taking time. But it's when people in true power, especially if you have a gun on your hip, people are really scared of the fact, like, oh, wait, if there's a racist cop that's going to take this person's life, like, that's really scary because that's just not you not getting a job offer. That's you, like, losing your life. So I understand that argument. But then I also truly believe that most cops are, they're not racist. And you can get to certain places in the country where it's a little different for us to say that in our Orange County bubble. Things are a little bit more balanced here. But I'm hopeful in the sense that it like set forth change, and it's on people's like minds now to like try to do better and be better, even though it caused a lot of division and a lot of hate. I think it needed to be done because nothing in comparison has happened since the 1960s with like MLK movement. And
when did the Civil War end? Like late 1800s?
Civil War? Should I know this off the top of my head? 17.
No way. 1800s.
Oh wait, no,
late 1800s.
well, I'm not gonna. I don't fucking know.
1865.
Okay, so
I was a little bit off.
so that's what, like 150 years ago, almost 200 years ago.
Yeah. American history is pretty short.
So that's like
We're not
that's
far
that's
along.
not that long ago that people were killing each other over. Some people were like, yeah, you should have the right to be able to make black people a slave.
Yeah, own this other human.
Yeah, to own a black human. So I'm nervous to comment on anything.
I do too.
racially
I
anymore.
I honestly was nervous about talking on this topic.
I know it's a scary
And-
subject because it's hard for us to talk about it because like
I have no
we're
perspective.
we're always wrong. No matter what we do, anyone will always say that we're going to be wrong because we're white. We grew up in middle class families. We grew up in Orange County, California. So like we have no experience with it, and so we're always going to be like on the other side.
Yeah.
looking
See, and
in.
I 100% completely disagree and have to combat the fact that we can't always be wrong. We're all in a country trying to make each
I'm not
other's
necessarily
lives better.
saying that I think we actually are. I'm saying that
no,
someone will
I agree with
always
you.
find something.
No, you're
wrong
playing
in what we're
devil's
saying.
advocate.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say you have no room to
Right.
talk. You can't. It's like no. That's not how this works.
That's not
like
healthy.
we need everyone at the table talking about it.
Mhm.
And of course, there's different like levels of whose opinion should be weighed a little bit heavier. But it's like no. I'm not here to make things worse. I'm literally trying to like help. Let's figure this out.
Mhm.
Like I love you. Like I love all fellow human beings.
Yeah.
But it's for someone to say like, shut your mouth. Like we're gonna cancel you. How dare you even talk? It's like, no. Like we need to all be a part of the
Sure.
conversation.
That's
we're
a deeper
at this
problem
point
though
now.
than just racism and
It is.
BLM.
We're at the point now where the United States people like don't like the term melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's racist. You can't say that. And okay, so there's so many different colors and creeds in the United States. By virtue, everyone should be talking about it to better everyone's lives.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
You can't.
What do you guys think about the whole silence is white violence thing? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of signs that said that, like
It's-
posted all over Boulder.
Again, I think it's one of those things. It's like you can't win, and like, growing up in Southern California, I don't have any perspective. I mean, it's
Sure.
like, you know, I've traveled a lot for work. I've traveled around the United States. You know, you go down to like Alabama, parts of Texas, you know, Mississippi, like there is legit racism still. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
there's people like, you know, they know like, oh, black guys just don't go into that store. Like, you know, people there are crazy. And, you know, and it's sad. And so like for me, it's like, I don't say anything because it's like, what do I say? Like, I'm going to go to a BLM like march
yeah.
and like stand there. Like,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, like, I don't even know what you guys are upset about. You know, and that's like
Because
sounds
you haven't experienced it.
because I don't get it. Because I
Yeah,
mean, like,
I can understand.
I mean, I
what
went
you're
to a
saying.
high school that had, you know, 5 African American kids in it, and I'm like, oh, we were pretty cool with them. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't mean to them.
Yeah.
I didn't see like we, you know, felt better. We went to school with like high percentage of like Hispanic people. I was like, oh, I don't feel better than them. Like, I realized like, you know, we have like a different upbringing, but I was always nice and polite and courteous to them,
Sure.
and like, I didn't see a difference. I didn't walk by them and be like, oh, these idiots or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, it's like I don't understand what you guys are so upset about. Like, but
Meaning
that's
you
But
don't
you're
get
saying
it.
that based on your own experience and
like-
like essentially ignorance because
Exactly.
you've not been exposed to it. Yeah.
yeah. And
I
if-
think-
for
I
me
think
to
there's a
pop
lot
off
of
and
merit to
say,
that.
and for me to go on my Instagram and be like, you know, like post a picture of or like the Blackout Tuesday or whatever when they
Yeah.
pass, like, it's like, why am I going to speak on something I don't actually understand? I'm not going to do it just so people are happy with me. Like, that's against the grain for me. It's like, you know, my mom always taught me, like, if I don't have anything to say, don't, you know, if nothing nice to say, don't say anything, which I don't have anything negative to say in the situation.
But
But
you don't necessarily have anything insightful to say because
No.
you don't have yeah, I kind of
Like-
felt the same way with it.
like, I'm not going to go up to like, you know, like someone of color, like on the street and be like, hey man, I feel for you right now. Like,
But
they're
that,
just
but
gonna
that
be
at
like-
the same time, that is almost like racist. Like that, it
Yes.
almost created some racism in a way of
It
like
did.
you look at a black person now as like, hey, I'm with you, or just you're looking at them differently. You're seeing them as a black person now, as opposed to another person.
Yeah.
And so in a way, this whole thing, and I have every privilege to be able to say it made me feel weird in a particular way because, so for like you said, I didn't want to comment because I didn't know what to say. I mean, other than obviously like, yeah, this is bad. We should make a change about this. I agree. But like, I think that saying that you can't be quiet isn't necessarily a good saying because there's a lot of listening to be done. For white people, I think we needed to listen. We didn't need to talk.
Shut
we
up
needed
and
to hear.
listen.
Let's hear your guys' experience. Let's hear what you're upset about, and let's hear what you want changed. I'm not going to go out and the day after something bad happened, be like, I have all the answers. I don't know. I have no experience with this. How can I have something insightful to say? But it also, what I was going to say is how it made me like see black people in a
as victims.
well, it made me see
Yeah.
black people as black people now. Like
Different
for most
tribe.
of my life, kind of like you were saying, people are people. Like, yeah, maybe if I was going to write a screenplay or write a story, I would make it more descriptive and put like a black man entered the building.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was like, yeah, a dude entered the building. But now it's like, I see black people and like I see that, oh, that's a black person.
That's
I-
unfortunate.
different
Okay,
team.
so what I
Yeah.
think is the movement was meant to spark change in fellow Americans who aren't like us. Because you're not a racist person, so you've always seen them as like, oh, that's just a human being.
Mhm.
So it reminded you of like, wait, like not only are you seeing them as black, but maybe it was brought to the front of our brains now that there is a problem that needs to be solved amongst other people who don't hold the same ideology that we have. Like they're just
Mhm.
human beings. There's still a lot of racist people, but the problem is instead of applying that change to people that like need to be fixed or
Mhm.
need to have their jobs taken away because wait, no, you're an actually like racist piece of shit person.
Mhm.
It's applied to everybody
To
who's
everybody.
white.
It's a blanket, yeah.
Right.
And that's the problem because then you start turning people that like were on your side, you know, that you start turning them against you. And I mean, I experienced this once because I did a little experiment on social media. I saw someone who I used to a training partner. He's Palestinian. He shared a post about that African American who shot the woman or the two police officers that were sitting in their car. I don't know
Oh,
if
in
you guys-
LA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that video.
And
You posted about it from your Mind Meetings Instagram, didn't you?
I think no, I think I shared it just on my regular Instagram, but or I didn't share. I like made a statement about it. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I followed that page to where the post had come from, and it was like an LA Hood Clips, something like that.
Yeah.
It was like an LA Hood Clips, and they were condemning the cops. Like they basically were saying like you deserve it. And I went in the comments and
Yeah.
it was just like a couple thousand comments were just like laughing, like you deserve it, bitch. Like all this different stuff. And
How do you like it?
I'm like, exactly, how do you like it? And I was so just shocked. I'm like, I couldn't imagine ever thinking that way or wishing that upon anybody or this poor mother who was shot in the face. Like, and I hopped in the comments and I basically just tried like inciting some sort of like togetherness and like, guys, like, what are we doing? Like, how are we treating each other like this? We need to all work together to make the world a better place. Like, that's generally what my statement said.
Lit up, dog.
Bro, I think the first comment was like, shut up, you stupid white boy. Like, get out of here. You're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this sucks. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And
but that's racism too. Like the same way that like, I guess racist people are against black people. Like there's black people that are racist against white people. And they think that, you know, we're all privileged and it's a blanket, just like, you know, they think we think of them.
Yeah.
And so, and it's a terrible.
It really brought me down because I literally, in my naive, born and raised in Orange County state, was expecting to like get some sort of like positive feedback or like, you know what, brother, you're right. Let's get out of here, you stupid white. Oh my, okay.
You're super optimistic though. That's how you are as a person, and like you're one of the most optimistic people I know, and I think there's definitely a level of naivety to that.
Because I try to be as optimistic as possible, but also realistic and a visionary in the sense that I try to envision solutions that are going to require interactions like that to happen, and then over time, hopefully, we can all work together. But
I just don't.
This was a whole nother element of this past year.
Dude, it was a big one though, because it made me feel so many things. Like I felt when I saw that George Floyd video, I don't think anybody was like, "Oh, that's chill." I mean, there were probably assholes that were like, "That's okay."
Yeah, those cops did exactly the right thing.
I remember when I saw that, I felt so sick. Like I felt awful the rest of the day. Like I genuinely felt sick. I was just like, I cannot believe that this shit happens. That you could do that to another person.
Yeah, and at that time too, like this is again when I was working in the jail. So like all the cops had the same thing. They were like, yeah, that is not proper tactics. Like that's a bad cop. You want to see a bad cop? That guy was a bad cop.
Right.
Like he, you know, he didn't do it right, and like he suffered the repercussions of that. Like that guy is in jail and probably will be in jail.
I think he actually got out.
So in terms of doing something about it, because I was thinking this earlier when you were like, I don't know how you feel. Like I can't speak on. I don't know. I think people would combat it with like, okay, what are you doing about it? And there's different levels of what you could. I would say besides just speaking about it and wanting to have people of color on the podcast and just doing my part in my day-to-day life of trying to invoke equality and just making people feel good. I try to just make people feel good, you know? But I think it comes down to like, if you see someone being a racist asshole in like a 7-Eleven, maybe like step up and do something about it. Or if you see unfair like business practices, mention it. Like just do something about it. And it's going to take time, and the little kids right now and the generations will have their pitfalls, but I think we're moving in a direction of what I want is just people to be judged by their like character and what comes out of your mouth, no matter what color you are. It's like we can all find certain truths that exist and we can agree upon, and just being a good person, and then the color over time will go away. It's like, wait, no, you're just an asshole.
Well, you're not. I can say, I mean, again, this is a perspective from Orange County, but like I see hope in our future, like with my kids, you know, and I'm around a lot of their friends and stuff. It's like, you know, like they're good kids. They're like definitely a lot more sensitive than we were, you know, like they're more aware of like social issues, which I think is good. I mean, there's a lot of issues that they're going to face that we didn't, you know, with like just entitlement and stuff like that. But you know, I feel like optimistic for the future, especially on this topic. I think that like, I think we're moving in the right direction. Like,
By the
I
time
think,
we're 80.
I think we have been moving in the right direction,
Yeah.
but I think that it's just going to go at a quicker pace now.
but I think like they're finally reaching
point, I
that
agree.
final, like, you know, like they're finally getting there. Like I kind of said it earlier, but like my kid doesn't see color. Like, and that's like the true like non-racism. It's like,
Hey, a
he's like,
person.
he's just
Yeah.
a person. You
Yeah,
know what I
there's my
mean? Like,
friend.
what do you, like if I say like, oh, you know, your friend that's, you know, like black, he's like,
But when
he's like, what the fuck are you saying? Yeah. Like, yeah, he has a darker skin. I don't
Right.
understand why that's a big deal.
well, but like now, I'm concerned about the future of where a company has to hire 4 black people, 3 Asian
That's wrong.
people, 2 women, whatever it is,
That's racism.
because
and prejudice.
that is race. And not only is that racist, because you're differentiating people right there, and you're hiring because they fit a certain segment, and you're not allowing someone because they're not in that sector. You know, you're not going to allow a white person because you have to hire 3
that's
black
more
people.
qualified for the
That's-
position.
Yeah, that's fucking racist, just straight up right there.
Oh, it's prejudice. Prejudice. Like,
But
I mean,
but I'm just concerned about
By
that because like
definition, you're
that
prejudging.
that creates more divide than it fixes. You're
100%.
creating more divide between people than you're fixing.
So an argument that would be made, just to play devil's advocate, would be like the system created more successful and qualified, let's say, white people for a given position. Therefore, you have to implement these policies to like balance out the playing field because it's not fair and it wasn't their and it's an impossible, I mean, nearly impossible
Sure.
like problem to solve. But
I think you start at a deeper. It screws out probably like a whole generation by doing this,
Yeah.
but you have to probably start at the kids now, the kids in the poor neighborhoods, the kids of color of any sort, and you have to probably empower them more than systems previously had, so as to create to make them better candidates in the future.
well, you need. To
I
do a
don't know
lot
what
of-
you do though about the current candidates who didn't have the good opportunities when they were
Well
younger.
said.
Well, there's so many things though. Like you have to teach them like financial responsibility. I mean, like somewhere like our like, you know, privilege comes from, and like I can kind of speak to this. Like I grew up in a family that like my dad was, you know, a business owner and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I like venture out and I want to start talking to people, I have like a whole like index of people I can go call and talk to
Right.
to start something, or, you know,
Mhm.
get like investments or whatever it is I'm looking for. Where if you grew up as like a kid that, you know, parents just worked a normal 9 to 5, and, you know, if they're in a low income area that your mom worked at McDonald's and your dad's not in the picture, like you don't have that same opportunity. Like
Sure.
that is privilege. Like that is,
yeah,
you know,
not even just a 9 to 5. Take it a step further. Someone
yeah,
that
just unemployed.
just absolutely like
yeah.
domestic violence,
Yeah. Or
just poor the whole. So ever since you can remember, you just had a poor upbringing.
yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
And so like in those areas, like you need to teach like financial responsibility, like, and, you know, like credit card companies in like, you know, black neighborhoods, when this is against the law now. Obama actually changed this, but like on your 18th birthday, you used to get like credit cards in the mail. These banks would send you credit cards,
Mm-hmm.
and like you'd get one and your limit be $1,000.
Mhm.
Well, a kid in like a black area might have like $5,000 limit.
No shit.
Well, yeah,
Because they
and
don't know.
but they have a higher interest rate than you
yeah,
did
I get your
because they know, like, you know,
Just
in that,
taking advantage.
well, in those areas, like it's like, oh, if you get a $5,000 credit card, it's like you just got a $5,000 gift card to life. Like
Right.
you're not paying this shit back.
It's a free $5,000 to that person if they have no understanding of
Well,
financial
financial
literacy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think like that's a huge issue, you know, and like Chase Bank has partnered with like Kevin Hart on this, and like he's trying to like
Oh yeah, he
teach.
was talking about.
And I
that.
think that's awesome. I think that's a good way to like, you know,
Mhm.
you're bringing someone that was in that area and bring it up. It doesn't help if, you know, Craig from, you know, is from Orange County is teaching you it. but-
yeah,
Right.
So
financial literacy is what you're talking
it's huge. And I saw a really cool video actually during all this was going on, because I was like trying to understand, and it was like a coach. He brought like a bunch of kids outside, like all of his students,
Mm-hmm.
and lined them all up on like a 50-yard line of a football field. And the coach went and stood in the end zone on the other end and said, all right, and how to make a phone. He's all talking to him. He's like, everyone that got dropped off by your mom in a car that cost more than $50,000, take 2 steps forward, and just kind of start doing these
about.
like issues.
Yeah.
So naturally what happened was like all these like white kids are like all the privileged kids are like near the front, and they're only
Mhm.
like 10 feet, only 10 yards from him. And then the kids that are like less fortunate are still on the 50-yard line. And he hit some like really like hard points, like grew up in a home without a father and stuff like that.
Right.
And then he said, all right, I have $100 a person from the position you are. The first person to reach me gets $100. And it's a good way
Totally.
to show. It's like,
Totally.
you know, there,
Yep.
you can be closer
Your
in life to
starting
the
point.
end goal.
Everyone has different starting points.
Exactly. And then he said, you know, I bet
There's also so much further than that too of like genetics, just like
Yeah.
things that you like.
It
what
is
if you
true.
grip sick.
Oh,
IQ.
that's dangerous if you start talking about that. People are like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
you're talking about genetic dispositions for intelligence or equating to like getting further ahead in society.
Unfortunately, it's true
Oh,
though. So I mean, it
Yeah,
sucks, but
it's a fact.
I thought that was really powerful. And like, I mean, it was like such a simple demonstration that I was like, fuck, you know, like, because I was one of those kids that was up in the front, you know, like
Mhm.
I grew up with, you know,
Sure.
I had my own struggles in life, but fuck, like,
So I'm willing to invest in those impoverished communities. I think that should be one of government's major roles if the private sector isn't going to take it on. As a tax-paying citizen, what I'm requiring of my government is to present a model that I believe will fix the problem.
Well,
Like
but
that's
they
what
don't.
tax dollars. That's the problem. So I am willing to pay more taxes if you can convince me that you are actually going to solve a problem that I truly care about.
yeah.
Because every standard citizen doesn't have the time to go do all this humanitarian work when they're trying to take care of their own families and themselves. That's what government's job should be. And reallocating funds, increasing taxes in X community with the citizens agreeing.
Yeah.
Please present solutions that solve the problems that we care about. Like we want
Yeah, I don't want homeless
everyone-
people.
Exactly. We want what's better for everyone in these impoverished communities. Ask any rational, nice person.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, oh, no, fuck them. Let's keep them down and let's keep us up.
Well, there's a
I don't
lot.
know.
I mean, there's a lot of issues like that, though. I mean, like, but the government doesn't do a good job of fixing them. They just throw money at it, and that's not the solution. Like, what goes on in like a poor community is not just give them more welfare. Like, you just give someone more money, they're just gonna, you know, have more money to spend on whatever, like, you know, drugs or groceries or whatever. But that's not fixing it. Like, they need to be working. They need to like bring value to their own life. Like, I don't know. Like, there was a couple weeks like where we weren't working, and I was so fucking bored. Like,
Sure.
it sucks. Like, if you don't have purpose every day and like,
Absolutely.
and you don't have discipline where like, even if you're not working, you're going surfing or you're going to the gym or like, you know, doing something positive, like, that's why these people get hooked on drugs and stuff. And they just perpetuate the cycle. Like, that's what these kids see their parents doing, and then they do it. And like, I think it's sad. And I think that's like what we see and like why people, and then you get people like us that, you know, pay taxes, and we're like, well, you know, these lazy fucks in these areas just collect welfare and they don't do anything, and that creates division and creates racism. And it's sad.
To a degree, yeah, for sure.
Well, and I think it's sad, and I think that it's like something that like the issues just are like so much deeper than like any of us even know what to do with, including the government.
Because, yeah, it's like you could be like, oh, you lazy fucks. Like, pull up your bootstraps, get
Yeah.
the job done.
Mhm.
But then on the next level, it's like, okay, like, how many conversations, how many, like, trouble nights, not to say we don't all have all trouble nights in our family households and whatnot, but you're asking something from a populace that just wasn't given the same tools and opportunity, and you could trace it back, like, generations.
Yeah.
And it's going down to those communities and, like, grassroots, like, problem solving, and we need like government assistance for it too.
Well, but-
and they
but
need to
not
be able
just-
to do their jobs.
But like in government assistance in like different ways too. Like we have to become creative. And like,
For sure.
I mean, I've thought about this a lot, and like, you know, this is a very like Republican right like perspective on it. But you know, if you give these areas, like one thing that drives companies away from like certain areas is crime rate. If you're in an area that, you know, is dirty outside, there's homeless people, there's a lot of crime, like companies aren't going to invest their money and time in those areas. So if you were to give these kind of areas like tax incentives, like if you open up a new business in Compton, you're going to like pay a lower percent tax.
Isn't that like gentrification?
Yeah, I mean,
Kind
there's
of.
pros and cons to it. Can you pull up the definition of that real quick? Gentrification. So the idea is if you have less businesses in a community paying tax dollars, the public school system has so much less money because there's just less economic growth and
Yeah.
activity in that community.
Yeah. But I'm saying like if you give tax incentive to businesses in order to, you know, make
That's
it.
exactly what that is. It's gentrification.
Yeah.
Right?
Gentrification, the process whereby the character of a poor urban community is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing, and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's.
But see, like if you can get businesses, like that's why they have like incorporated areas, like that you can't like build houses there.
So someone would argue like, wait, you're pushing this corporate American.
It doesn't need to be corporate.
System.
But honestly, like it doesn't need to be corporate. It could be jobs like manufacturing.
Or
but
you're small business.
I mean, you're giving the
tax
people in
break.
that area jobs.
But what you're saying is to uplift a community, you basically make the community more valuable by putting in like businesses and stuff, and it creates more money. But what the repercussion of that would be is that you're making that place more expensive. So then now the people who were living there probably can't afford to live there anymore.
Well, it depends, because usually they go side by side. Like as the economic growth in an area like increases the real estate and pricing and whatnot, you hope that the jobs are being
opportunity.
You're being
as
paid
money's
more.
invested into
You
an area,
hope,
it
though.
costs
You
more
hope.
money.
But what I want to tie it into like,
Think about fucking Oakland though.
but
Sorry, I just interrupted.
it's about these businesses producing more money for local government to better allocate in educational programs like helping build the youth. And if you could present a different alternative, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
But that's, people make the argument for gentrification is it helps put money into communities that could then build better like systems and whatnot. But people, I think Skylar brought this up in Santa Ana. He doesn't like that because it takes away the like indigenous culture per se of
Changes the culture, sure.
you're kind of
For
is that a word, corporifying? I'm gonna make it a word.
corporatizing. I think.
Corporatizing. But you're kind of taking away that little element, that soul out of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you're like, okay. So if that's a fact, how are you going to generate more money in this community
And that's the problem.
to build
though.
social programs and educational programs?
But see, that's
Give
where
me
it's
an
hard.
alternative.
It's people are selfish. I mean, like the root, like the nature of us is like to take care of yourself. And like I see it so much, like with like my wife doing the tax work and stuff for so many companies. It's like they're not willing to like lose money, and they're not willing to just say, hey, you know what, like I'm just gonna pay more because I want the public schools in Oakland to do better. Like they're not gonna do it unless they're like getting something for it. So like yeah, like there are repercussions to everything. I mean,
That's a fact that I think people need to be more accepting of.
that's how all
Is that
transactions work. Though.
Everything that we decide to do, there's going to be a repercussion. So you
Every
have to
decision
be
you
able
make.
to be understanding and be open to hearing, at least hearing, and then understanding what might happen if you do this. So it's like, okay, so we can make it so that we improve your community, but your community is more expensive now, or you might lose some of what you valued about the community in that it was super familial and it was low key and it was this cool hood with all this culture. But now, you'll have to lose that to be able to have these systems that now better prepare you for a good job. Or if you're like, this is what we value, we just want to keep our culture, well, then you have to be, okay, well, unfortunately, you don't get everything that you want. I don't want to wake up and go to work in the morning most of the time. But to get paid, I realize that I have to.
Yeah, I really
and
like
that's
to
a really
eat too,
basic
so.
thing. Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean, this is
perfect solutions.
You don't get
very
both.
rarely exist.
Well, this is exactly what happened in like Africa, like during the Industrial Revolution. So England, like, you know, or the UK tried to like go to Africa and like build factories there because they didn't have the space. And Africa was like, no, you're ruining our culture, our people, blah, blah. So like they moved on, and that's when they went to India. Well, that was when the people there fell so far behind, and then nature, they like started just taking the African people because like they like wanted food and like didn't have food anymore. And that's why Africa was so far behind like technologically because like it was like they picked culture over like, you know, like urban change.
Either keep up or get left behind.
Essentially, yeah.
And it's sad. I mean, like that sucks. I mean, that's not what they were thinking, you know. They didn't know the alternative, but I
could hear someone right now, like a super social justice word, being like, see, that's wrong with everything business, everything capitalism. Like, if you don't keep up, you're going to fall behind. Like, that's bullshit. And like,
and it is.
Okay,
and it sucks.
I get
it does suck.
But
it does suck. Yeah.
It does suck. But like we don't
sometimes.
as a society and as a world now, I wouldn't even just say like the United States, we don't like think it's important to be like an art scholar. It's important to some people. Some people really appreciate art. But like some people don't give a fuck. And like people in business don't give a fuck most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's bottom line driven.
Yeah, and it is, and like, you know, and
But
like
there is a
they say
business of art too.
Professor Du
There
would,
is,
would
but
say late
there is,
stage.
and there's good money in it.
You can be in art. You can be into art and be a capitalist.
100%.
sure.
I'm not saying art isn't important. I'm just saying, like, as an example, like, if like culture is what you want to save,
Mm-hmm.
like, there's a lot more people that are gonna say, yeah, well, I'd rather make money than keep your culture.
Yeah, well, I think that the point is that you have to realize that you're choosing what you value higher, and you have to realize the repercussions of your choice.
Exactly.
So
Not only
you
that-
have the opportunity, like Africa, to choose to have your culture saved. But you cannot go complaining when you're like, hey, but why don't we have money? Why don't we have
Yeah, we're still
whatever
starving.
that everyone else has? It's like, well, you chose that. And same thing vice versa. So if in the US, you know, we become, we kind of don't really have that much culture because we're not that old.
Well, people
but-
from outside would still be like, "Oh, that's the United States
Sure,
culture,"
sure,
even though we
sure.
can't really.
Everywhere
pinpoint
has culture. Even a corporation has a culture.
Yeah.
But if you choose, if what's a good example of this? But let's just like China. Like China, they are becoming so
it. China.
corporatized and industrialized. And maybe they've chosen to put some of their traditional lifestyles aside, and people have moved into the cities because they valued the money and the jobs and the opportunity over the culture. But they have to realize that like they lost that culture and that lifestyle because of what they chose. So essentially, bottom line is just that you have to realize whatever choice you make, there are repercussions. There are pros and cons to every choice. There is never a 100% you get everything you want from this choice.
Yeah, and I think a question too is, are you freely choosing, or in like China's case, it's kind of like a dictator.
Sure.
Like you have less of freedom. We
There-
are blessed
there's
with
a big
that in the
argument
United
for
States.
that. Yes,
But then it's
absolutely.
people that are like, "Oh no, I don't want to keep up with American capitalism," so like, no, I don't really have a free choice. Then it's,
Mhm.
I don't know what to tell you at that point.
Yeah. That's what
It's
people
like-
that moved to Montana and they're like, fuck off.
Fuck all.
Yeah.
One quick thing about the Black Lives Matter thing. So the George Floyd, when he was murdered, that was Memorial Weekend. And it was either the day, I think it was the night before. I had this really weird experience, and it was weird how it all tied into everything that happened afterwards. But so Aaron and I, we went camping Memorial Weekend up in South Dakota. We went to the Black Hills and camped up in kind of just middle of nowhere in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And we drove through Wyoming and Nebraska in the middle of the night, or a part of Nebraska in the middle of the night, and show up at this campsite at like midnight. And it was a dispersed campsite. And at the time there were no fires allowed because of, I don't know, issues with fires because it was too dry. They hadn't gotten any rain. And we pull up to this site, and there are these people that are in there. They had Wyoming license plates. They were very, very like rural, very, very conservative, pro-Trump type people. And we pull up, they are having a massive bonfire, and they're blaring their music. And there's dozens of other people camping out. Everyone is being respectful, and most other people had license plates from all over the country. You could tell all these people are traveling up. And so Aaron and I were going to go to sleep, and these people are having this massive fire right next to us, and they're just being so fucking loud, just so disrespectful, and so blatantly just not caring about anyone else. And so I'm laying in bed that night thinking like about how I feel kind of uncomfortable because I'm like in the middle of nowhere, and I have these people who are have a super different perspective than me, and they are essentially they might not care about me. They might not like me. So they might, God, I'm telling this in the worst fucking
No,
way ever.
you're okay.
Okay, so what I'm
So
saying though is that
You're
I'm
trying to sleep.
yeah,
and
I'm
they're
trying to
fucking
sleep,
blaring
and there are these
music.
people that are being dickheads, and I felt uncomfortable because I was like, if I go up to these people, like maybe they're gonna be like fuck you or something, or maybe they'll harm me because I'm also in an area where like you can carry a gun, whatever. So I feel really uncomfortable, and it brought up this idea of just like being an outsider, being in another person's place, and feeling uncomfortable. Like that sucks. That's scary. But like, how uncomfortable do we as white people ever really get. Now going into the middle of the Black Hills, South Dakota, like that's pretty uncomfortable. That might be almost the most uncomfortable we can be though. And so that night I had a dream about being a black person in the South going on a road trip, like going on a road trip, doing the same thing that I was doing that night in real life. But let's say I was in the South, I'm living the van life or something, and I pull up into somewhere in Alabama that's super racist, and I'm just trying to camp. Imagine people come up and they start beating the shit out of me or something. Like, that's fucking scary. That's really, really uncomfortable. I'm concerned about people that are playing their music too loud, and I'm concerned that I feel uncomfortable that they might be mean to me or something if I go over and talk to them. But the reality is that like in parts of this country and parts of the world, so many parts of this country and the world, people of color, they experience that, but to the extent of living. Like, you know, I'm scared that someone's going to be mean to me. They're scared that they might die.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So it was interesting because like the next day I see this George Floyd video, and I was like, whoa, that's so weird, because I just had a dream about being a person who was scared for their life in a place where
they shouldn't be.
Yeah, you shouldn't be.
I mean, I think equal opportunity, being a nice human to like your fellow Americans or people of color, and then time is all that I could think of right now that's going to help combat that, because you're exactly right. Where's your level of worry in living like daily life? Not even talking about like financial or not being able to get a job, or all these different things that people of color are facing at a different rate than white folk in the United States. But just having to look over your shoulder or worry in a certain situation, it's sad. And that's a fact for certain people, because I'm not going to tell them how they should or should not feel. And I imagine that's happened many, many of times in different people's lives. The only way to combat that is just be nice and don't stand for it. And then time.
Yeah.
Time.
You know what I think is the best way to solve all these things?
Huh.
Exactly what you're doing is bringing different perspectives on.
Yeah.
I think
Dude,
that's
exactly.
I mean that's part of your inspiration for doing this. I
Most
believe.
of it.
Yeah.
It's just
So
to
I think
solve
that's
problems.
the best way for us to solve problems, as opposed to like I don't know, just expecting the government to make the right decision, or just expecting a white person that's a president or something, like, oh, he's going to know exactly what to do. It's like we should hear more different opinions, different perspectives, and having these long form conversations with people with different perspectives. That's the best way for anyone to even be exposed to what it's like to have that other perspective.
Exactly.
Like Chase was bringing up how like we don't really know what these people are protesting about, because we've never really experienced it. Well, the only way we can really understand is if you bring someone from with that experience on, so we can hear about it.
I think, I mean, you guys are smart fellas. You can understand it in terms of like analyzing the outward situation, but you're talking about like feeling. Like, I don't know exactly how you feel, because you can understand it just by argument's sake. Like, but no, we do not, and I don't think ever will 100% like know how someone feels in that situation.
But they'll never know how we feel either, and that's where tolerance comes in. I mean, like, people
that's where
learning
open forum conversation.
Yeah,
Just
people
talk
learning
it out.
true tolerance is like, hey, I agree to disagree with you, or hey, I don't know how you feel, but you know, I care about you as a person. And I mean,
Straight up.
remember all those people's like tolerance stickers you see on the back of their cars? It's like has all the different like religious signs. It says tolerance, but it's in like all the different religious signs.
In a while, but yeah, I remember those.
No, it's people.
All right, the next one. Well, just to close that out, guys, we're working on it. We love everybody. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Let's skip the Kim Jong-un death rumors.
Yeah, that
That fucking happened.
Homie's still alive.
That was dumb. He was just like
Just
he was
disappear
just
for 20
He
days.
didn't talk on anything for like 5 weeks, and everyone's like, we think he's dead.
Joe Biden elect. We already know that. Let's do the murder hornets.
I don't even know what that is. I
that
literally have
happened?
no idea what that is.
So it was right like after. What was the date? Can you look up when murder hornets were first a thing in the U.S.? So it was something
inches.
like, we're already dealing with COVID, a
Right.
natural disaster per se, like it's out of our control. And then we get hit with another one, which is murder hornets.
I think by this point I was like, "Fuck, just take me."
I remember seeing like memes and stuff for it, and I was just like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
and
I
just
thought it was a
ignored
joke, to be
I
honest
genuinely
with
didn't
you.
even care because I was like, this is
Yeah, look at that
stupid. What is
motherfucker.
this?
Go to the top headline real quick.
Can they actually murder you?
Sightings of the Asian giant hornet have prompted fears that the vicious insect could establish itself in the United States and devastate the bee population. So that's what it was. They eat or they kill
Bees?
bees or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, they don't. It's not like you get
They'll-
stung
they'll
and
also
you die or
fuck
something.
you up.
Oh, they do. Okay.
I mean, just like any wasp, I'm sure you can get like stung. I don't think it kills you in any like special
it
venomous way.
X amount more than something else.
I don't know. I
See
wonder
how
if
big
you
that
guys
bitch
see.
is? I bet it
You
hurts
see
a lot.
the videos where like the guys sting themselves. I think it's on Snapchat. They like you haven't seen it. They
Holy
literally,
shit, I'm not paying
little-
attention to the murder hornet world.
bro. Little
I just completely wrote that one off.
Gavin, my little brother, he watches the videos of like it's these guys that just sting themselves with different insects and they
Uh-huh.
like rate the pain level and
Oh, wow.
all that different stuff.
See, guys will do anything for money, dude.
Fucking murder hornets. But dude, that's just crazy. It brings forth the idea of like nature, like certain things that are out of our control, like these little hornets that could just come over here and fuck up all of our bees and like mess with our.
Well, isn't it crazy? Like the bees, like if bees were to go extinct, it would like fuck up the entire ecosystem or something.
Yeah,
I read
what's-
something about that one time.
that's
like,
if anything,
No,
realistic, the
absolutely.
whole ecosystem would go out of whack. But yeah, bees are like a huge deal
because
for
they carry
sure.
all the pollen
But
and stuff.
also,
What about the Black Mirror episode?
I don't want to talk too much on bees, but
Nick's
No,
a big-
dude, let's
Nick's-
do it. The
Nick's a
Black
big
Mirror
bee guy.
episode, too.
I'm just I would like to hear someone who's really actually well versed in the world of bees, what the deal is with the bee, people saying that bees are going extinct and that we need to save the bees, the whole save the bees thing. I would like to hear two people from different perspectives talk on it because my old boss, so I used to work in the outdoor industry, and the outdoor industry is very environmentally conscious. And so at one of our trade shows that we were at, somebody was like doing a whole thing for Save the Bees, and like that's one of those things I feel like I've just been hearing for a long time, like, oh yeah, we got to save the bees, like whatever, yeah, like the bees are dying and stuff. So my boss, he did a bunch of research. He was like, wait, what's the deal with this? Like, why are bees dying? What's the deal? And he was like, look it up, you guys. He's like, like bees are higher. There are more bees ever than any time ever in history. He's like, there's nothing to show that bees are dying. So
You
he's like, I
serious?
don't even know where this idea
Hey,
came
Graham, pull
from.
that up real quick.
But
We got.
I don't want to talk too much on it because maybe I'm a total idiot. Maybe he's an idiot.
Let's see what the Google algorithm will tell us real quick.
Dude, one
But-
time I was driving in Orange and this fucking car next to me was full of bees and the dude was just driving. I was like, what the fuck?
Bumblebees are going
Okay,
extinct
this
in a
is
time
Net
of climate
Geo.
chaos.
Oh, it's a climate change thing.
Most important pollinators are in trouble. Fuzzy and Buzzy.
I read one time somewhere that Morgan Freeman
Oh,
has
they
like
want a
bee farm.
subscription.
gotta
These
pay for it.
bastards.
Have you
What
guys
did-
seen that? Morgan
did Morgan
Freeman
Freeman
has
do?
like a bee farm.
Oh, does he?
I guess.
That's
I've-
gangster. I would.
saw-
I would.
Dude, my
I would
step
have
grandpa
beef
used to raise bees.
Dude,
Really?
in
best honey.
VP.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to.
I
I'm gonna
don't want to go down the
Dude,
rabbit
I'm
hole
gonna
of
get.
bees.
I'm gonna get someone on here. Though,
Yeah,
talk
need
I
a
would
bee-
love
we
to
need a
hear
bee
about it,
expert.
but I don't want to go. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole.
Dude,
I
I-
don't want to act like I
Should
actually
I just
know.
come sit on the couch?
I'm
while
just
he's
saying
talking?
that somebody told me an opposing argument and provided evidence, and I was like, wait a minute, this is
Really?
interesting.
Conspiracy.
Dude, I love honey.
Honey's so fucking good. It's so good.
Dude, I got some good old like organic Sprouts honey down there. Put that in your coffee.
Have you ever
every
heard
morning.
like when you travel somewhere, you should like eat the local honey
Local
to like
honey
help
for
like,
the
your allergies?
Local pollen or
Something
whatever.
with keto too? I think who was saying it? That it doesn't knock you out of ketosis for people that are
That
Really?
dude, that was on Rogan's podcast. The doctor, that's the
yeah.
all meat eater.
Something
dude,
about that, how
carnivore. He was talking about how it's like, I don't know,
the
has some
healthiest
different
sweetener.
effects.
It's got the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
nutrients in it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Oh, bro. Okay, the
That
Beirut
was
explosion.
fucking nuts.
That's pretty fire.
That video went viral and that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I was thinking about just the power of blasts.
Dude,
Like,
they,
okay, so when you put your hand out your car window, because people for the most part like this is nothing. Like it's just air or
Right.
just in air, but it's actually something. Like that is the transmission of like particles moving outward. You know, when you get hit by that sonic boom,
yeah.
just put your hand out the car at 80 miles per hour
Yeah.
and feel how like
Yeah, that's 80 miles an hour.
yeah,
Think
imagine
about
an explosion that displaces air in every single angle equally, and then boom, it blows out freaking windows.
Did you see the it blew out the concrete
Yeah, Grant,
and
can you
everything?
pull
It
up
was,
the
on
video? Let's
river.
watch the
It
video
just,
real quick.
blew all the concrete out.
Probably just get on YouTube, the Beirut explosion.
They said that
there were several videos.
Oh, dude, did you see the one where the girl was, I think it was like wedding photos. That
Oh
one was
yeah, I
pretty
saw
nuts.
that.
I don't know if I
I was
saw
So
that.
here,
fucking
we'll
nuts.
pull it up. I want to.
She's
Alright,
like
so let's
standing
do
there
it.
and
Yeah,
like
let's do that first one.
Do you guys know how many people died in that?
190. It said on that.
190?
That's what it said.
Wow,
on
that's
that
actually not that
article.
many for how big that explosion
That's
was.
so gnarly. And then I'm trying to think of the compound that was being stored in that warehouse.
It was supposed to be like ammo. They said.
No, I don't think it was ammo.
fake-
We'll look it up after
I
this.
think they said it was fireworks.
All right, we're gonna watch this real quick. Fast forward it to it.
Oh, here we go. It's just
In video from the day of the blast, you can see white flashes.
so
what
it's
appear to be
smoking out.
Yeah, I see all the
fireworks going
sparks
off
right there.
before the massive
what are those fireworks?
They said it was fireworks, but ammo also does that when. Like,
Whoa!
Holy fuck!
What do
Go
you
back.
think that? What do you
Dude,
think that
look at
felt
the
like
buildings.
for that
Look at the
person?
buildings.
disaster waiting to happen because nothing was done.
yeah, but
Holy
ammunition does the
shit.
same thing when it like is on fire. It like shoots off like that.
They
Makes
were, they were
sparks.
storing some chemical in there, like some. We'll look it up right after this. God, dude, that's crazy.
What do you think that felt like for this person taking that video?
Dude, just like a nice hug. Like
That's
they-
it? You don't think like how far? I wonder how far away
I bet
you
that was
could
like
be, like where the dividing line was that like you would get injured or died and then like just be fine.
about right there.
Okay, so let's look up what was stored in that warehouse, Grant. I remember reading about it. But fuck, dude, those blasts are gnarly. I also went down a World War II rabbit hole like a couple months ago and was watching the documentary on Netflix, and it was one of the episodes was like Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Mm.
See,
Holy
ammunition nitrate.
Ammonium
no,
nitrate.
ammonium nitrate. That's what. Okay,
Oh,
so
it is.
ammonium nitrate, an explosive
Ammunition
compound.
nitrate.
An explosive compound had been stored at the blast site. Explosive material seized by the government years ago was stored where the explosions occurred. According to top Lebanese officials, specifically ammonium nitrate, commonly used in both fertilizer and bombs. Wait, so the government seized the ammonium nitrate, stored it there, and then I wonder what caused the initial like fire or whatever, like set
I
it to
don't know.
blaze. But that's crazy, dude.
Well, that stuff it could just be heat too. If it was hot out, like if you cover it.
Maybe.
Have you ever heard of
I
like
don't know
people's
what the,
trash cans exploding? They'll put like manure in their trash cans, and you just close the
What?
lid. It was back, not with the current trash cans, but remember back in the day, like the round trash cans, you put the lid on
Put
it.
the lid on them, yeah.
People would like put manure in them, and they'd blow up.
Dude, it's just so. Dude, I remember when this went viral and I was tripping. Just
Yeah.
here's another thing. Oh,
Yeah.
everyone thinks it's like terrorist related or someone planted a
Sure.
bomb.
Yeah.
What a year.
Let's see.
It's
2020 Beirut explosion. 204 deaths according to Wikipedia. 6,500 injuries.
15
You could
billion
feel it
damage.
150 miles away. The Lebanese government declared a 2-week state of
150 miles
emergency.
away.
2-week state of emergency.
That would
That's
be
fucking
like
nuts.
if there was no repercussion of it killing people and it blowing up buildings. That'd be kind of fun to like be at the area where you could get hit by it and it wouldn't kill
Like-
you or hurt you, but
like a
just run and
simulator?
Just a nice-
just run and jump and just be like
like a little breeze.
yeah.
A big
It's
breeze.
like getting blasted by a wave or something.
Bro, yeah, Salt Creek was massive yesterday. That was scary. Yeah. All right. Hey, Grant, let's go to the next thing. Let's
Yeah.
see.
I have literally nothing to say
This
on
is
this.
Black Panther. I remember seeing it. People were
Very
bummed.
sad.
Didn't he die? What did he pass away of again?
Cancer, right?
Yeah, he had
Cancer.
cancer.
Colon cancer. That's
He seemed
so
like a pretty
sad.
good dude though. But I think the big hit there was like the first black superhero, and then
Mm.
like the whole BLM movement.
Gotcha.
It's
I
sad.
really don't know anything
4-year
about him.
battle with colon
I
cancer.
didn't see half of his movies, so I have like no comments.
Yeah, and we had our fair share of West Coast wildfires here in California, then up into Oregon, and we already touched on that a little bit. That was
Yeah.
pretty gnarly. Deadly
RBG.
wildfires erupt from California to Washington state, burning millions of acres and displacing hundreds of thousands of people since
That
mid-August.
sucked.
Real
That,
quick on
I
that,
got
just for the,
evacuated both times.
No shit.
Yeah.
For the
For
God, I thought I took
the
a
ones
picture.
like in the past 2 months though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I didn't even know who she was until she died.
No
to be
way.
totally honest.
Yeah, Yeah,
she's a
she
big
was-
representative for the female community. I think through
Yeah.
her
Mm.
the course of her life, and especially in politics, she stood for everything like women's rights and
Gotcha.
whatnot. I'm gonna have a female rights episode, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I'm supposed to be booking it out, but I'm
Is it
sure
gonna
we'll
be a
talking
debate
about that.
Or
Yeah, a debate.
You finally got it booked?
I hope I'll check in the DMs later. I'm waiting on the second participant.
Yeah, she was pretty solid
Dude,
solid for women's movement, but the last few years there,
Trump
she was
test
off.
positive for COVID. You guys remember when that
no,
happened?
He got a flu. And,
Yeah.
then it
And
was
that
fine.
homie slams Diet Coke and rips cheeseburgers
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah,
But
he was fine.
you best believe they threw the book at him. Like, of
Yeah.
course, like he's got the book in terms of like
all the good
treatments.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he beat it. And you remember,
You know what's funny though is I was thinking about this because the other day I was reading like Orange County representative who did something that wasn't pro-COVID test positive for COVID. Like, okay, who cares? Did they
Yeah.
die from it? Then why are you slamming them because they got COVID? Yeah, like a lot of people are gonna get it. Maybe you should slam them if like they died from it because they were like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have to do this. But yeah, if they got the flu, like
Yeah.
who cares? What like I genuinely don't even understand what they're trying to get at. If they're just like, yeah, she got it. Okay, and she's
Yeah.
fine. Maybe I
Trying
feel like
to get
I feel like
clicks.
they're digging themselves into a worse hole because they're proving
It's
that
crazy.
person's point more. He's like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I'm fine.
kicked it.
And to him, it wasn't.
I feel like this is like we weren't alive in the time, but like when the AIDS pandemic started,
Oh yeah.
like when like
Mm.
Magic Johnson got eggs, I'm sure AIDS. I'm sure AIDS. I'm sure.
Sunny side up.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Like the news headlines, like back then, were like that. Like Magic Johnson of the Lakers has
Yeah, yeah, I
AIDS.
mean,
Like
it's a
that's like
business
almost.
model.
But
Yeah,
that's like
but-
almost
but-
how
but-
it is now. It's like Donald Trump gets COVID. It's like, okay, he got fucking sick. He didn't get like some like venereal disease. That, like
I get it. Totally makes sense. Though. I mean, he was the
oh,
president,
it's
held
funny that he-
responsible for a lot of the spread in most people's eyes, and then he gets it.
After saying it's
he's
not
an
a big
older
deal.
gentleman. People don't think he's the healthiest. He's a little bit overweight. What's going to happen? Is he going to croak from the virus that he's been downplaying this whole time?
Sure.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get why it
Homie
made
was walking
headlines.
the lawn 48 hours later. You know,
Yeah,
he was chilling.
I didn't
But-
even know Eddie Van Halen died this year.
Are you serious,
yeah, he died.
I don't, dude,
bro?
again, you got to pick and choose what you pay attention to.
I know there's
Yeah.
so
There's
much too much
so
shit.
much
But bro,
fucking
Eddie Van
noise.
Halen, are you kidding?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen. I just didn't even know he died, to be totally honest.
Decades long battle with cancer. I want to.
Didn't know he had
First
cancer.
What kind
diagnosed
of-
in mouth cancer in 2000.
Is that what it was? Mouth
Right,
cancer?
It says at the bottom.
Can you look up yeah, not just mouth. I want to see if I wonder if he was a smoker or like what caused it
Mm.
potentially. Because you know those just
Oh, I'm
80s
sure.
rock stars just ripping
If he
grits,
smoked, that was the
Yeah.
like the
ripping
least hard.
lines, just
Yeah.
really partying.
Did you see that really bad Netflix movie they made of Motley Crue?
Oh, dude.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was bad. It was like cool just because they finally did it, and you're like, I had no idea that. Who's the lead singer again?
I forget what his name is, the
Tommy?
blonde guy.
Oh.
But
Motley
he
Crue,
killed someone in
Nicky
that car
Six.
accident when he was
Yeah, I
like
didn't know about that either.
super drunk, DUI
Yeah.
status.
Yeah,
That was gnarly.
and that his daughter died too.
Fuck, dude. Van Halen struggled with alcoholism and drug abuse. He began smoking and drinking at the age of 12. Jesus. Homie was ripping.
That's a different time.
Suffering lingering injuries from the past.
He blamed tongue cancer on
Wait,
his
he
habit
died- he
of
died of
holding
a
guitar
stroke.
picks in his mouth.
Say it again.
It just said
Oh, the guitar. I heard this. Like,
I
there's
used metal picks. They're brass
certain
and copper,
chemicals.
which I always held in my mouth.
That's funny. I was almost gonna make a joke about like playing the guitar with his mouth. Maybe he got it from
Oh,
that.
from the strings.
Yeah.
No,
I
but he
mean,
said in
jeez.
2015 that's why he had mouth cancer is from putting guitar picks.
It's
in
like,
his
no,
mouth.
it wasn't the pack a day. It was the picks.
The 2 packs a day and all the cocaine. It was definitely the guitar picks.
Dude,
in the
rest
mouth.
in peace, though. That
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what is it? Eruption. Everyone knows Eruption.
Yeah.
He died on my birthday.
No way.
Yeah.
Were you playing his songs all day?
Wait, like this
Oh,
birthday
no,
that
no,
just
no.
happened?
I read the bottom. It says November 16th. Wolfgang announced the
Well,
Howard Stern
freaking
show.
rest in peace.
Wait, what day did he
Eddie
die?
Oh,
Van
never
Halen.
mind.
You,
What day did he
you were a
die?
shredder.
I don't know.
Let's go back. to
Scroll up.
Joe Biden becomes
Oh,
president.
October
elect.
6th.
No.
All right, yeah, let's move on to the next thing.
Okay, so Joe Biden becomes president-elect. We already touched on that a little bit, but
Yep.
Yeah.
hey, we'll see what happens. Let's have a follow-up episode to
Yeah.
see
See if
what
Sleepy Joe
actually
can stay
ensues
awake.
if he like if he sticks to what he says, what policies put forth, if
If he
the
survives
positive and
the 4
negative
years.
effects.
Well, he's got the floor to
Um,
do it. He's got House. He's got the Senate. I mean,
We'll see what happens. Oh, Alec Trebek.
I don't even know he died.
Are you
I don't
serious?
fucking watch the news, dude.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, but like, that's a bummer. But I don't care.
How dare you?
Again, getting back to like pick and choose and like that maybe that would
That's a
bum me out
bummer
for the
news
day.
day.
but it's just
Pancreatic
like, I don't
cancer.
know.
All
Yeah,
of this
that's-
cancer, dude.
There's a COVID vaccine.
I like how it's vaccine rollout. COVID-19 relief finally comes.
So we touched on the vaccine
I
a
feel
little
like we're
bit.
beating the shit out of
That's pretty much
COVID.
it, yeah. Well, dude, okay, so this will be coming out the day before inauguration,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see what happens. I mean, 2020 was a wild one, and technically into the new year, it wasn't part of it, but we had people storming the gates. Oh, we're like, all right,
You got,
2021, God, we've been through enough shit. Let's get it together, people.
do you have any speculations of what might happen this year? Like, so since we're releasing this the day before
Mm-hmm.
Biden goes into
Inauguration.
office, what do you have any speculations of what could happen? Do you think we're going to have a 6-week lockdown? Do you think Biden's going to survive all 4 years, like literally physically?
Okay, so I will bet.
That's a genuine concern.
No,
He's the
it
oldest
is.
president ever in history.
That's a legitimate concern.
I think he'll be around.
You think he's going to make 4 years?
I know, yeah, he'll live. He'll be alive. But you got to understand, he has access to the best
Doesn't
medical
matter.
technology in
He's
the
already-
world.
Doesn't matter.
But he's had,
Everyone
he's
still
had
dies.
access for years, though. Dude.
Yeah,
He's
everyone
been
still
on
dies
news forever.
eventually.
They're going to keep him alive. Who's the president that was like crippled in a wheelchair, so he only did
JFK?
No.
Oh, no.
FDR?
FDR,
yeah.
I believe.
No, but JFK was like, he was like really
Trust
fucked
me,
up too, but no one
they're-
knew it.
They're going to keep Mr.
they'll-
Biden alive. President Biden will be alive.
I don't know, man.
President
Kamala,
elect.
she's trying to get her way up.
So here's the thing.
I'm
like,
more afraid
people,
of her taking
people are
office
very
than that.
scared of them all, and I get it. Like, things are happening behind the scenes, but I do have faith in our balance of powers to where it's not just
Remember
President-elect
again, the Zach is
Biden.
naively optimistic.
So we got President Biden. He's not sitting back there like, ooh, like what are we doing? And then Kamala's not. I think they are working with teams. Some teams lean left, some teams lean right, some teams are balanced. You would hope that any individual would surround themselves not just with like-minded individuals that are going to biasly agree with everything they say, but like I want to be surrounded with a diverse team that helps like problem solve for not just one side of the United States but all sides. And I lean more towards that, even with Trump's cabinet, Biden's cabinet. I think if you were to sit them down in this room and start shooting the shit,
Mhm.
you're going to find more in common. And you're like, oh, actually, they're not the devil like the media
Yeah.
played them out to be. But with that being said, I will hold anyone accountable for policy set out over time, deadlocks where something that I happen to agree with or disagree with is held up by virtue of cabinet, Senate, Congress's ideology. You hold these people accountable. I don't like condemning people until wrongdoing actually occurs. And there's things to be said with what's come out of Biden's mouth in the past.
Yeah.
And in terms of like racism, in terms of jumping ship with policy. But I also understand the fact that like politicians by nature, you set forth like grassroots policy sometimes, which invokes true change, but oftentimes you're just mirroring what you're hearing from the people to not only have them like you to get elected the first time, but hopefully for a re-elect. And I understand that fact. Not to say I think presidents and politicians need to like stand by their core values, mirror the people a little bit, like give the people what they want, be open for change as new data pours out. Don't be married to your ideas. Like if something, and people forget about, even with him saying certain racial things in the past, which he needs to be held accountable. And I would love to hear him explain why he said X in X time, like in an open forum conversation. Like hold him accountable. I get it. But I also like giving people the benefit of the doubt to change over time, like become a better person.
Yeah.
But with all of this being said, I can't. I'm hopeful, as you said. I'm an optimist, but we'll over time we'll see what actually ensues. And you asked about the lockdown. I think there's going to be a balance
It's in his
between
policy. It was in his
federal
policy that we would do it.
recommendations, and then it'll be left up to individual states to kind of have their own policy as well. And being in California, which has already been like pretty strict under Newsom, we're not going to feel too much of a difference here. If, let's say, Texas or another state that's more open has to start abiding by federal policy put down by Biden, that's when you might see some backlash. But here in California, we've already been doing it, you know?
Yeah.
But with all that being said, I'm not a political expert. I'm not extremely well read on Biden or Kamala and all of their decisions made day in and day out over the course of their political careers. And I should be more. Need to start reading up on it. But
you're too busy reading about
the world's not going to
murder
end.
hornets and Eddie Van Halen's death.
Yeah, exactly.
Alex Trebek's death.
No, but it's not as bad as people make it seem, dude.
What's not?
People think the world's going to end. Like they still think people are breaching the walls of our freaking Capitol because they think the world's going to end. Our balance of power puts forth a 4-year term.
Yeah.
By definition. I think it's more dangerous when you have all these raging Trump supporters asking him to not leave office, break the rules, break the foundations set forth by George Washington, who just happened to settle on, like, do you know what? I'm going to step back. I don't want to be a dictator. I don't want to be a king. We've dealt with that. Just his decision led to everything that's been set forth in the future. But I think that's dangerous when it's like, no, the system was rigged. I actually won. Let me rile up all the people. I'm not going to leave office. People start breaching the Capitol walls, and then he put forth that statement like, guys, go home. He put forth this statement, which I give him respect for, the peaceful transition of power. He's abiding by it. Because at the end of the day, you have to have a certain level of trust in the system. Call out wrongdoing, have your balance of powers, be an educated populace that calls out bullshit and holds your politicians accountable. But you have, in order for the system to work, you have to have a certain level of trust in the electoral process. And I remember there's cameras outside of people like counting the votes. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
And these different, literally it's people just like you and me sitting in a chair, physically counting votes and running them through the machine. And there's Trump supporters outside of the buildings as the votes are rolling out, leaning towards Biden. Like something's going on. Like they're banging on the windows. They're making these people that are just trying to, do their jobs. I would hope that they're not just fucking ripping up and tossing things. That they're inside participating in our democratic republic, and they're scared because there's mobs outside claiming that they're not doing their jobs, and they're just physically counting votes. Yeah. So I was bringing that because the certain amount of faith in the system, if wrongdoing occurs and Trump really did win and Biden, there was some grand conspiracy, do your part. If wrongdoing happened, to get that public, do your part in trying to call out, but it's so hard though, because what happens behind the scenes, standard citizens can't really truly figure out what's happening back there. Mm-hmm. But if he had the election stolen from him, you have to put faith in the system to catch it. And that's it. You can't go storming walls. You can't be causing civil wars. You can't act irrationally and just stirring the pot and just causing division and all this bullshit in the country that we don't need. If it was stolen, let the judicial process happen. And guess what? Trump's campaign, they had multiple trials or whatever. They submitted what their case was, and it was found that there was nothing fraudulent that happened. So guess what? Move on. Your team lost. It sucks. You can't just keep dragging on. And I love the fact that Trump, even though I think he was backpedaling after kind of inciting riots in a sense with
Yeah.
his
for sure.
tweets and whatnot. He's like, guys, relax. Like, I don't think he expected people to start climbing the walls.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty ballsy.
But he's like, go home, peaceful transition of powers. And I think that's where we're at now. We'll see.
With the election stuff, do you think the election was rigged? We didn't really talk about that.
Well, I mean, I was touching on it a little bit right
Yeah,
now,
you were
and I
just
think
saying
my
right
answer
now.
is no.
Right.
No?
I don't think it was. I think people fish. It's like, I was talking to my dad about this. When your team loses in a sporting match, football, for example, people are like, it was that ref.
Yeah.
That ref
For
made
sure.
a bad call and caused us to lose this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, no, there's no way Trump can lose. There's no way. Like, there was a bad call made. There's something happening that stole it from him. And guess what? Please give me the evidence, and
Yeah.
I will do everything I can to like do my part and fix it. You know?
What happened in baseball a couple years ago with the Astros?
Oh,
Like
exactly.
they were stealing calls or whatever. They got caught. Like they found him. But what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, because I thought that in 2016 there was no way Trump was going to win, and then he won. And then this year I thought there was no way in hell he would lose,
Yeah.
and then he lost. I think it's hard to make an accurate assessment. Thank you, of what really went down, because so nowadays this is not news to anyone, everything that we read on the internet, everything, it's catered to our personal beliefs. And I think it's going to align with what our beliefs were. So if you were a Biden supporter, you were going to see a lot of Biden stuff, and you're going to be like, yeah, it's pretty obvious that Biden won, that
Yeah.
would be insane that Trump would have lost or would have won. And then if you're a Trump supporter, you're going to be like, there is no fucking chance that Trump lost. He had to have won.
Yeah.
Or had to have won.
You're exactly
when I
right.
drove from Colorado to California, 3 months ago, I went through like 6 states, did a longer road trip version of it. And I think I saw like literally 2 Biden signs the entire way and probably like 500 Trump signs.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised, because really the only places I've ever seen Biden support in the past year were in Boulder, Colorado, which is, I mean, that's pretty fucking obvious. It's an extremely liberal city. And then Los Angeles. Those are the only places I've like, I was just in Pennsylvania. Everywhere it was Trump signs.
Yeah.
So I was surprised, but I'm not going to say that I think
It was fraudulent.
it was fraudulent, because how the fuck would I know?
You know,
Yeah.
I wish everyone was flying American flags and
Yeah.
stood for like base level United States. Let's all work together. Have the flag represent every American, which it should. But the past year, people associate the American flag now with like Trump and even
Yeah.
racism in certain instances.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm genuinely very turned off when I see any sort of like bumper sticker on your car or
Yeah,
Joe
you-
Biden flag or Trump flag. It's
like you're on a team.
yeah, I don't like it. It's just not me. Like, if you want to have a conversation about it, because that's what
Yeah.
it deserves, then
Well-
I'm down. Like, stand for what you want. You know, it's fine. I think leave the flags for the Raiders and Rams. You know, it's like
You know what's weird, though, or what sucks, honestly, about politics these days, is I feel like, what does the left stand for and what does the right stand for? Because for the most part, it really just seems like they stand to be the opposite of the other. The right just stands to make a mockery of the left and to make sure everyone knows they're not the left. And the left just it seems like they're just making sure that you know that the right is the devil and that they are the left.
and we're gonna combat it. That's why I wanted to have you guys here just to review 2020. It was a trippy year, but I think we learned a lot from it, all the different events, and all we can do is continue to chug forward, as humans will always continue to do. And yeah, I'm hopeful we're gonna be all right. We're gonna
Yeah,
be
I
all
think
right.
so too.
All right. We'll review it in 4 years when Zach's got a third leg because he got the vaccine and Biden's been dead for
2.5 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Kamala
Hey,
Harris
let's-
has us all in chains.
Hey, be nice out there. Don't be an asshole. If you see an asshole, maybe call him out. But yeah, thanks you guys for coming on.
Of course, thanks for having us.
All right, you guys. With that being said, talking goes a long way. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Epstein didn't kill himself.